Finally found out why my friends don't want me going on my date tonight. Pretty annoyed. For context, I'm 35M, and my date is 43F. We actually met because she's in a hobby group with my mom and she encouraged us to go out together. Two of my friends and their girlfriends didn't approve when they found out. At first it was because she was a few years older than me and because she's a friend of my mom's, but after pointing out that at our age 8 years is not a big gap and my mom was supportive, they just called it weird and creepy to date her. Eventually, after everyone else I asked seemed confused about the problem like I was, they came clean and admitted they had been talking to my ex that left me a year ago and she had been missing me. My ex is friends with the two disapproving girlfriends and they all have been planning to try and get us back together like some kind of trashy romance plot. My ex left me after we were together for a year because she just didn't feel right about our relationship. Hurt like hell at the time, but I've moved on. I've run into her a few times and been polite, but I have no interest in a relationship or even a friendship with her. She's not part of my life anymore and I'm keeping it that way. My friends made me feel like I was crazy and weird for wanting to go on a date with a woman I get along with. We've hung out a lot in other settings, just not a date yet, all so they could try and force my ex back into my life. Ex texted me this morning asking if we could meet up and talk and I told her that I wasn't interested in anything she'd have to say and that I'd like to keep my distance from her. I'm also putting some distance between my two friends who were playing along with their girlfriend's stupid game. On the plus side, I'm really looking forward to our date tonight. Dinner, drinks, and a walk through town to enjoy the nice weather we're getting. Update: just got home. Did not expect this much support. Figured I'd let anyone finding this late or checking back in know. Date went very well. Haven't had a first date go that well I think ever tbh. Second date has already been planned. I'll be cooking dinner and we'll be watching a few terrible movies we both share a love for. As for my crappy ex-friends, I've already told them we're done being friends. Luckily they are part of a separate social circle from my main group of friends, so it's a very easy breakup process there. Ex tried calling me. Went ahead and blocked her everywhere I could think of. Not letting those idiots ruin an otherwise amazing night. Thanks again for everyone's supportive words. I know I made the right call, but it's nice to be validated, you know. Stories number 2. My fiancé, 30F, and I, 36M, are having serious issues after her sister interfered with my family's issues. Trigger warning: verbal abuse, mentions abuse and weaponsing an abusive past. My fiancé I and I have been together 3-1-2 years, engaged for 18 months and getting married in May. I thought things were wonderful, but we have hit a major problem. I work in the shipping industry and was away from home for the majority of this. Sorry for the long post, got a lot of background that led to this. A little background: my sister and fiancé were best friends through our relationship. I'm very close with my sister and my parents. My fiancé is very close with her sister, and we thought of everyone as our own families. Recently, this last year, my sister left her mentally abusive husband for another guy. Her new guy has a bad past and criminal record, and rightfully so everyone is skeptical of the guy. But my sister's relationship with her new boyfriend is a whole other thing, that I'm not gonna get into, not my business as long as she is safe and happy. Since she has been with this new guy, my fiancé has been very vocal about her opinion of him, that he is a criminal. This has put a strain on their friendship, of course. A little over 3 weeks ago, while going over wedding planning, my fiancé told me she did not want my sister's boyfriend at any of our wedding festivities. She said she was going to approach my sister about it. A few days later, she was afraid to and asked me to confront her about this. I told her I would handle it. Knowing this request would hurt my sister's feelings, I asked my mom for advice on how to handle the situation and how best to approach my sister about this. My mother became upset over it, and was afraid that if I asked my sister this it would hurt my relationship with my sister. I knew it would hurt feelings, but I wanted to try and find a compromise somewhere in all this. After the conversation with my mom, I told my fiancé how it went, and that it upset my mom. I wanted to give everyone time to cool off, as we still have 3 months till wedding date. I asked my fiancé please be patient as this was not an easy subject to approach. My fiancé was none too happy about my mom's reaction, and was upset as well. Later that night, my fiancé and her sister had a long FaceTime call, and vented to her about her frustrations. This becomes a problem later. A few days pass, unbeknownst to me, my mom had a chat with my sister and agreed to not bring her boyfriend. At this point, they hadn't told either my fiancé or I about it. Then my sister's ex-husband receives an anonymous message on Facebook telling him how my sister cheated on him, and left him for a criminal. It was full of half-truths and assumptions, and coincidentally the few truths it included, were things my sister had only ever told 2 people, my mom and my fiancé. Once the ex-husband told my sister about the message, shit hit the fan. Next day, I was unaware of the anonymous message, until my fiancée told me she had to tell me something. She told me that her sister sent an anonymous message to my sister's ex-husband telling him what she thought was the truth. Fiancée says she only vented to her sister and that her sister took it upon herself to tell the ex-husband. The message included things that were only told to my mom and fiancé, so of course one suspect was my fiancé as the culprit of the message, but no one thought she was capable of this. I told my fiancé it would be best if her sister confessed and cleared finance's name. She was upset over it all, but agreed and talked to her sister. The next morning, I awoke to a shitstorm of a group text. Fiancé's sister confessed in a group chat including myself, fiancé, my sister and my mother. She confessed and explained herself, and as you can expect there were a few heated words at first, but it seemed like things were being cleared up. That was until my fiancé decided that was a good idea to get drunk and tell everyone off. Well then it became just my fiancé telling my mom and my sister how horrible they are in this whole ordeal and how much my fiancé hated my sister's boyfriend. It went on for a couple hours of texts. I woke up the next morning to find out about all this. At first I was confused and upset trying to figure out what happened and trying to keep peace between my family and fiancé. She thinks I took my family's side and not her side, when I was on her side until she had the drunken outburst. My fiancé even so much as laughed about my family being upset. This was 2 weeks ago, to the day. Over the next week we didn't talk much. A few heated words, but we agreed to give it time to cool off and try to approach this level-headed. After a week, unknown to me, my mom came by to try and talk with my fiancé over things. Fiancé was in driveway leaving for work when my mom came by, and told her she couldn't talk right then. Later that night, fiancé sent an angry barrage of texts to my mom blaming my mom for everything. I have a sneaking suspicion that fiancé was drunk again during this. As I work on ships, I was out of town. I had gotten off work early specifically to come home and work things out, as it's difficult to do these things while away for so long. This was 11 days after the anonymous message, and I was at the airport on my way home. At this point, I thought things were calming down, and we might be able to talk it out calmly. I received several texts from fiancé about how she refused to pick me up at the airport, and wanted to stay in the guest bedroom when I got home. My parents ended up picking me up at the airport. That was when I found out about the angry texts fiancé had sent my mom the night before. I arrived home, and had a sit-down chat with fiancé finally 3 days ago. From what she says, she has no regret and refuses to apologize for the way she acted. She sincerely thinks that her sister was right in sending the anonymous message. We both agreed to stop talking about it for the day, before one of us gets too upset and prevent it from turning into a yelling match. It's been 3 days, and we've hardly spoken to each other in the house. Myself, I can't stand by and let someone intentionally hurt my family. I have talked with my family about it. They are willing to give fiancé another chance on my behalf. My fiancé says she refuses to be anywhere near my family and thinks I have chosen their side, while I've been trying to keep peace between everyone. TLDR fiancé's sister sent anonymous message to my sister's ex-husband, started huge family feud with my relationship hanging on the balance. Is there some way I can approach this, and still keep both my family and fiancé? Update. Well, first off, I'd like to thank each and everyone that replied to my original post. A couple of the replies were a little harsh, but looking back that is exactly what I needed to hear. I broke up with my fiancé almost 2 weeks ago, and when we sat down to talk, she was still adamant that what her sister did was the right thing and didn't care that it hurt my family. She didn't apologize, showed no remorse or any sort of sign that she would be willing to work with me on this. This left me with no choice but to break up with her. The first couple days were quiet, a lot of crying and sleeping in different rooms, no arguing or fighting. Then she went to stay at a friend's house 2 days later, and that is when things got bad. She would purposely come back to the house only when I wasn't there, and bring her sister with her. Took a few more things from the house than we agreed upon, and her sister decided my couch was a great place to change a dirty diaper for her baby, including leaving a leaking dirty diaper on the couch for me to find. Then the next few days started a smear campaign on social media and lies told to friends. Myself, I've stayed quiet on the social media regarding the breakup and keeping my distance trying to let things cool down. I have now blocked my now ex-fiancée on every platform, including emails as it was nothing but her trying to drag me into an argument that would go nowhere. TLDR fiancé wouldn't talk it out, we broke up, she showed her true colors. I dodged a bullet. Thank you kind Redditors that helped me see the light. I had a hunch that things weren't all that great, but I needed someone strangers to tell me to pull my head out of my ass. Edit, thank you for the silver, awards, and kind words. After reading all these comments, I feel much better about everything. I appreciate it very much. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. So sorry you have to experience this, just focus on how lucky you really are to have dodged that bullet. Damn, she would have been an entitled nightmare of a wife. Good for you. I hope your sister doesn't feel guilty about it, I would worry that it might happen. Reply. I've already talked with my sister about it. Apparently, there had been times in the past, ex-fiancé had gotten drunk and tried to start shit with my sister about me. My sister didn't tell me about this until after the breakup, but apparently it contributed to my sister distancing herself from my ex. Commenter 2. How did her new boyfriend react to all this? Have you talked with him as well? Reply. He actually laughed it off. I was surprised he reacted so well, probably reacted the best out of everyone involved lol. Commenter 3. I just read to original post and then this one. I also would like to add that your former fiancé and your family are very judgmental. Just because your sister's BF has done bad in the past doesn't make him a bad person. People deserve second chances. If he is treating your sister right, he should have been invited to the wedding as her guest. But your ex showed her true colors, so good on you for seeing that. Reply. After all this has transpired, my family has given her boyfriend a chance. He has been very upfront with his past and has actually been a big help with some family business. He seems very sincere about becoming a better person. I hope this holds true, as other Redditors have pointed out, both my sister and I haven't had the best choices in previous partners lol. Commenter 4. I find it surprising that you didn't know how drama-prone she was after 3-1-2 years. I wonder if that is because she was able to hide her drinking and personality deficits because you were on ships a lot. Maybe something to consider for the next woman who comes along. Reply. When I came home unexpectedly, I found 7 empty alcohol bottles throughout the house, as well as overflowing trash and old dog poop from the bad freeze over Texas a few weeks ago. These were those big handle almost gallon-size alcohol bottles of gin and rum, and they weren't there 3 weeks prior before I left. It looked like something from a hoarder. For a long time, just a few days before I would return home, she would complain about having to clean the entire house. Now I know why. Every time I came home the house was decently clean, but never looked like she had spent days cleaning. She had been hiding the true amount she was drinking from me while I was gone all this time. Stories number 3. Aita for refusing to let my brother's family stay with me after they lost their home. I, 34M, own a modest 3-bedroom house that I bought 5 years ago. I live alone and use one bedroom as my home office, IWFH full-time, and the other as a guest room hobby space where I keep my music equipment and gaming setup. My brother, 38M, and his wife, 36F, recently lost their home due to financial issues. They have 3 kids, 12F, 10M, 7F. Their financial problems stem from a series of poor decisions. My brother lost his good-paying job 2 years ago after repeatedly showing up late, then bounced between jobs while his wife worked part-time. They kept their kids in expensive private schools and activities they couldn't afford, refused to downsize from their large house, and ignored my parents and my advice about budgeting. Eventually, they couldn't keep up with mortgage payments and were foreclosed on. When they lost their home, they asked if they could stay with me, just for a few months, until they get back on their feet. Here's where I might be the I said no. My reasons. My house is simply too small for 6 people. They'd need to take over my entire living space. I need my home office to work, and I can't work effectively with 3 kids running around. I value my peace and quiet, and frankly, I don't want my life turned upside down. Their few months could easily turn into a year or more based on their financial history. My parents offered to let them stay in their larger home, but they refused because they don't want to live by my parents' rules. Instead of letting them stay, I offered to pay for a hotel for 2 weeks and help them find an affordable apartment. I also offered to cover their security deposit. My brother exploded, calling me selfish and saying I have plenty of space and am choosing things over family. My parents are torn, they understand my position but think I could make it work temporarily. Since then, my brother's family moved in with my parents, despite not wanting to earlier, and I'm getting constant texts from extended family about how I abandoned my brother in his time of need. My brother's wife is posting passive-aggressive things on social media about finding out who your real family is during hard times. So Aita for not letting them stay with me. Stories number 4. Aita for deleting my girlfriend's Sims save files. Let's just start by saying that I, 24M, love my girlfriend, Aaliyah, 20F, very much. She's a super hard-working girl, and she spends a lot of her time on classes trying to get the highest grades possible for applying to nursing school in the near future. When she's not doing that, she's doing chores or cutting down on her ever-growing to-do list. And when she's not doing that, she's spending 2 hours a day playing The Sims. This is where the problem comes in. After all the stuff she does, Aaliyah doesn't have as much time to spend with me as she could. She's a perfectionist too, so when she's doing the more serious stuff like school, she puts in more effort than necessary, which is time-consuming. It really got to me that even knowing this, she'll spend so much time on The Sims. It's something frivolous she's doing when we already only get so little time together. She's also an adult, so essentially playing digital dolls almost every day is kind of something she ought to grow out of by now. I decided to step in and have her cut back on this. I obviously didn't delete the whole game, but I figured deleting the little save files she was working on would deter her from spending so much time on it. That decision backfired tremendously. When she logged on to her game she thought there was some glitch going on and kept restarting it until I explained to her that I removed the saves. She absolutely flipped out on me, saying she'd been playing in that save file since like 2017 and I had ruined years of game progress. Sims isn't even a gold game. I told her she was overreacting, because she still has the game and she could just remake her same little characters if it mattered so much, but it doesn't need to, and maybe now she can focus on more adult interests, like loved ones. Basically she left immediately, saying she was so stupid to leave her gaming laptop at my place, and now she won't answer my calls. I know that this is a total overreaction, but I started to feel a little bad once I realized it may not be as easy to redo her characters as I initially thought. So, AITA for deleting my girlfriend's Sims saves. TLDR, my girlfriend is obsessed with The Sims, so to deter her from playing it so much I deleted her save files. She blew up at me. Aita for deleting my girlfriend's Sims save files. Next day, girlfriend finds the post and answers OOP's Aita question decisively with multiple examples. Did you really think I wouldn't find this post? Did you really think I wouldn't see how you've been talking about me? I shudder to think what you've said and what you deleted. Why don't you tell them the real story? About how you not only deleted the save files, but also hammered the backup thumb drive so hard there's a dent on your countertop now while I cried for you to stop. Why don't you tell them about how you tag along to my SI group after bio because you don't want me to be out of your sight? Why don't you tell them about how my best friend who's so-called in love with me literally lives in another state and only visits once or twice a year? Why don't you tell them about how when my mother was sick a few months ago, you were blowing up my line all day every day for attention knowing I was her primary caregiver 24/7? Why are you telling them you work full-time or that you manage a grocery store when you part-time manage the fast food place inside it? I want you to fucking take this to heart when I say this, but I have genuinely been so much worse off for knowing you. You've destroyed my self-esteem with your constant criticisms of what I enjoy, you've controlled me in every way for as long as I've known you, you don't understand boundaries or when no means no, your racist fucking family treats me like dog shit, and your friends are equally racist punk bitch assholes. You ruined something I've spent years of my life growing up with and I could never bring myself to forgive and forget that, no matter how much love I've poured into you. I hate you for what you did to me, and for what you've been doing. I mean that. I'm gonna make this so crystal clear since you didn't understand it the first time, we are through. Go fuck yourself. My saves are restored, that's it. Sorry for taking a while to tell everyone, I went to a local tech shop a few days ago and they helped me to recover everything. I hadn't had the chance to update due to final season, I'm typing this on my way to class, but YESSS, for anyone still wondering, I got everything back. Stories number 5, my 28F, boyfriend, 28M, expects me to keep up a lie with his family but it feels wrong. So, my boyfriend and I have been together for 4 years. We live across the country from his parents so this Christmas is the first time I will actually be meeting them. They are hosting us at their house for 2 weeks. I'm super thrilled to meet his family. It will be his parents, and 2 siblings that still live at home. He has met my parents quite a few times because they live in the same area as us. He moved here for school about 10 years ago and loved it, found a job and stayed. Everything is going amazing. We moved in together 2 years ago and our relationship is just progressing naturally. We aren't really in a rush to try to move quickly or anything, but I will call it a very serious relationship at this point. So, anyway, yesterday we boarded our 6-hour flight. He seemed a little bit nervous and fidgety, but I know that he doesn't fly very much, so I attributed it to that and told him I was there for him if he needed anything, to comfort him, and to let me know if I could do anything to calm his nerves. He said it was fine and we were having a pretty good flight. Now, part way through the flight he grabs my hand and tells me he wants to tell me something. He tells me that his parents think that we are a fairly new relationship. They don't know that we live together. They don't know that he is close with my family. He told them that we met at work when in actuality we met at school years ago. We had a lot of the same classes and met in school but stayed friends for a long time. He tells me that they think he lives in an entirely different city. He lied to them about what degree he has and they think he has an entirely different job. He told me that a few white lies about making his parents happy so that they would keep sending him money during school snowballed into not knowing how to tell them, and he pretty much has a totally fake life in their eyes now. He told them that I work in the same field as his fake job even though I don't. He gave them a totally random family backstory on me. He really wants me to keep up appearances with the stories he told them over this holiday because he doesn't want to make a big scene and be embarrassed about having to lay it all out and would prefer to wait until we get home again to tell them everything. I feel extremely uncomfortable with this and I was honestly pretty shocked. I have said hello to his mom on speakerphone conversations, popped in for a Skype hellos when they were chatting, and honestly had no idea that he had made up a huge story about us and me. I realize now that I've only actually spoken to her in the last year, which is how long his family thinks we have been together. It makes me feel like I can't trust him. He promised me that this is the only thing he's ever lied about. He said he lied about it because he wanted his parents to be happy with his decisions and wanted them to think he was making the choices they wanted for him. Would it be reasonable to assume that these are the only lies he has told and he hasn't fabricated anything within our own relationship? He never told me that they didn't know anything about us, he always made it seem like they did. I'm not really sure where to go from here or how to tell him that I don't want to do this. His parents paid for our tickets. Would the nice thing to do just be close my mouth and let him sort this out on his own when we get home and just play along? I don't know what to do. We got here yesterday and everyone is fabulous, but so far I have just kept my mouth shut about everything. The first big family dinner is tonight, which I expect is where most of the conversation about us and what we do is going to come up, and I'm not sure how to handle it. TLDR, my boyfriends invented fake careers for him and myself and totally lied about what we do and where we live to his family so that they would be more impressed with him or proud of him. He wants me to keep these appearances up at family dinner, but that makes me uncomfortable. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. His parents paid for our tickets. Would the nice thing to do just be close my mouth and let him sort this out on his own when we get home and just play along? Why would continuing to lie to these people be the best way to repay them for your flight? Reply. I just meant that I don't want to be the reason there's a huge blowout if this is something that I should be letting him keep between them, the people directly affected. I didn't mean I want to thank them by being a horrible person. Commenter 2. I don't think you can ever trust your boyfriend again. He's lying because he's afraid to disappoint his parents, and there's no reason he wouldn't do the same to you. If he gets fired from his job, he might just pretend he's still going to work every day and never tell you. If he cheats on you, he'll never admit it. If he goes into debt, he'll keep it secret and pretend everything is fine while it continues to get worse. He didn't tell you about the situation with his parents until the last minute when he had no other option, except the option to come clean, which he didn't take. That's the level of truthfulness and integrity you can expect from him. He'll lie to you when it makes him look better or to cover for one of his previous lies, and he'll tell you the truth when he's all out of other options. Reply. Ugh, it's really hard to swallow that. I see what you're saying that though. Commenter 3. I would be more understanding if his parents had impossible standards that he could never live up to and he had to lie to them just to maintain his peace and sanity, but that's not the impression I'm getting. It sounds like he's been lying about a lot of things for a long time, and still thinks he can get out of it by telling more lies. I would tell him to come clean with his parents before dinner, because you won't cover for him. If he does it and actually faces the consequences of his lies for once, maybe he can learn something from this and change his ways. Reply. Yeah, that's true. And yes, his parents weren't expecting a surgeon or anything, they think he teaches, but he's an architect. It's still an awesome profession and in no way lesser than a teacher, so I don't understand it at all. I think I will have to tell him either he has to come clean or I'm answering honestly at dinner. Commenter 5. Yeah, that is weird. I feel like most people think of an architect as being more prestigious than a teacher. Reply. Exactly. Commenter 6. What I don't understand is that the guy is an architect and his parents wanted him to be a teacher. How can he think so poorly of his own parents who paid for his education to assume they wouldn't respect his choices? Unless they're crazy strict or abusive, I just don't understand why you would conceal so much. Reply. Yeah. It's a fabulous job and he has wonderful parents, I'm sure they would be incredibly proud. His younger sister is a McDonald's manager and they treat her promotions as they would if she had just made partner at a law firm. There's no way they would be disappointed. I feel so frustrated at him and honestly I feel betrayed for his parents, they paid his way. It's so frustrating to feel trapped in this situation. Update. So I decided to tell him that I won't be perpetuating the lies, but I won't outright say anything because I don't feel like it would be appropriate for me to be the reason everything blows up. I actually decided not to go to the first family dinner and I'm unsure if I'm going to stay at this point, but I don't really know what to do. I didn't pay for the ticket so I feel really horrible about seeming ungrateful, but I got a hotel for 3 nights just to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm still thinking because everything is just so intertwined and complicated, our bank accounts, our rental agreement, etc. So apart from the fact that I want to make this relationship work because I love him, it's also not really simple enough for me to just break away and leave. I want to work this out for everyone and figure out how to help him tell his family before we leave. Anyway, I'm so sorry I'm so late for updating, but I will update again when I have a more concrete plan. His family is amazing and I feel wretched about everything. Update 2, okay. I think we have come to what will hopefully be the start of a resolution. So, I told his mom that I was so incredibly grateful for her generosity so far, even just one day into the trip, which is why I actually needed to take some time away and stay at a hotel for a few days, because staying with her didn't feel right until we cleared up some serious personal issues that have just come to light. I talked to my boyfriend and we decided on a plan. Tomorrow morning his mom and dad are meeting us in a restaurant in the hotel. I offered to take them to brunch to discuss everything. I told him and his mom, separately, that I really want to be a part of this family, and for that to happen we all need to have a big conversation. The plan is, at brunch my boyfriend is going to lay everything out on the table. I'm going to explain to them that I didn't even realize the lies that have been going on and I wasn't comfortable staying there and lying to their face, and that I just found out about this the day we landed. I wanted to make sure that my boyfriend resolved this with them because from the moment I found out I felt horrible and I wanted to get off on the right foot with them. We both wanted to make sure that my boyfriend came clean while we were here. When I was talking to my boyfriend there were definitely some tears, and I think he's going to feel so much weight off his chest when we finally talk about this. I really don't think he wanted or intended for this to happen. I don't think he would have brought me here if he wasn't okay with the truth eventually coming out. I will definitely update when the conversation happens. Thank you so much for the advice and support everyone. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Is this a cultural thing maybe? I know some ethnicities get so much shit from parents kids learn to just lie reflexively. Of course you should break up, but since you don't want to snoop on his actual life. He is likely lying about what he's lying about. Reply. I don't think so, honestly. They're pretty secular white bread Irish folk. I honestly couldn't see it being cultural. But maybe, I guess, I'm not sure what Irish people are normally like with their kids. Maybe the BF is lying about being an architect. I know for sure he is an architect. I'm not worried about that part, genuinely. He does a lot of work from our home office. We also hosted the Christmas party for his office the last 2 years, so I know his bosses and coworkers really well. I'm 100% positive they would have corrected me or not mentioned him during conversations and discussions about design projects. He's in a semi-senior role at his work and I frequently stop by his office after work. We usually meet in the reception area to drive home. His office also has his name and job title, Project Manager, on his door. Trust me, he couldn't be fabricating the career with me so close, and our general relationship with the office, not trying to argue with you or anything, as I'm sure there's other lies, but his career and our bills are totally kosher, there's no worries there. I'm an industrial designer and familiar enough with the career and worked in long enough the field that I would catch a lie about his work pretty instantly. My guess is that it's something to do with his parents funding him and assuming he has an education degree, because that's what he told them he was taking for some reason. Whether he knew right away that wasn't what he was going to do or changed once he got to school, I honestly have no idea. We hadn't met yet at that time. That's the reason it's so strange and frustrating for me, because he has a fabulous career. Update 3. It feels like so much to have to type out, so I'm going to try to condense it to be as straightforward and simple as possible. Basically, the brunch went really well. I was very impressed by my boyfriend. He was actually really forthcoming and laid pretty much everything out. He apologized to me and his two parents, and he gave me an opportunity to tell them anything I wanted to tell them about my actual family, my life. They were really interested, and it was really refreshing just to start to get to know them on an honest level. He basically came clean about absolutely everything, including some other personal stuff that I didn't even know about that he had told myself and them. He apologized and promised he was going to take steps to earn our trust back, including therapy. It really actually felt like it brought us closer together. His parents were quite hurt and initially upset, but I think it really did a lot for what they thought of me as a partner for their son and future daughter-in-law, which I'm really happy about. They were really supportive in the end and told him that basically at the end of the day he is still loved and they will just have start building that trust up again. I'm going to continue staying at their house now and they will tell his siblings together. I actually ended up sitting down for a cup of tea at their place with his mom, and she did explain to me that she's going to talk to him privately about the pressure he might have felt to lie to them, because I guess they realize now that they put more pressure into him than any of the other kids, because he was originally going to follow his dad's footsteps as an English teacher. She told me that she really likes me and she hopes it doesn't affect my view of their family or her son. She thanked me for pushing for the honesty and she can't wait for the opportunity to get closer to us. My boyfriend also seems so much more open to having conversations about coming back and having them come stay with us. It really worked out in the long run for me to not make any hasty decisions because I'm really happy with how this turned out. To me it just seems like just mistakes on both ends that culminated into a really bad choice on his end. Thank you again everyone for the advice. Stories number 6. Wife wants to name our twins Romeo and Juliet. My wife is a huge Shakespeare fan, and she loves the idea of naming the twins Romeo and Juliet. I'm against it. I can't get over the idea of naming our kids after a fictional couple who die. I do really like the name Juliet. I even suggested that if we go with Juliet, maybe we could name our son Tybalt after Juliet's cousin. She insists that if we use Juliet, we have to use Romeo. I'll admit Romeo and Juliet is one of the only Shakespeare plays I've read, but I've tried to look online for some other Shakespearean sibling names we could use, like Ophelia and Laertes from Hamlet or Claudio and Isabella from Much Ado About Nothing. She hasn't liked any of them because either their source isn't serious enough or the names aren't recognizable famous as Shakespearean. She's really stuck on this. On their own, I think they're lovely, but I don't think they work for twins. Is there a way I can convince her this is a bad idea, or does anyone have other Shakespearean name suggestions that might win her over? I'm not sure if I'm overthinking the meaning behind the names and being weird about it, but I can't talk with anyone about this because she wants the twins' names to be a surprise. Notable comments. Commenter 1. Your kids will never ever forgive you ever, its stupid sorry. Weren't Viola and Sebastian twins in Much Ado About Nothing? I think those are both lovely names on their own and I'm not sure many people would immediately think of Shakespeare the way they would with Romeo and Juliet. And they're actually siblings not love interests. Commenter 2. Edit, it was Twelfth Night, sorry. Not Much Ado About Nothing. Commenter 3. Twins are individual people and future adults, not your accessories. Please have her speak to actual adult twins. Commenter 4. They're gonna be bullied with incest jokes their whole lives. The specifics of Romeo and Juliet aside, neither you nor your wife should get to be stuck on these or any other names. If you vetoed them, they're out. It is also true that naming siblings after a couple nearly synonymous with young love is ill-advised, but even if it were not, neither parent should get to bully or steamroller the other into a naming choice. Frame this differently with her, you are allowed to veto names just as she is allowed to veto your choices. Do not get mired in the literary merits or demerits of various Shakespearean over or characters, because it is beside the point. Commenter 5. This is the first of many parenting disagreements you will have in the future, in which you will need to compromise to find a solution. Now is the time to practice that skill and learn how to listen to one another's hard limits. We did that before she got hung up on these two names. At first, we considered names from the books we both liked, but Romeo and Juliet was the first Shakespeare play she saw, and once she got this idea, she didn't want to hear any more. Reply. I'm hoping I can talk her out of it, but if I can't I might show her this thread. Thank you. Oop. Update. Thanks for all the comments and name suggestions. I didn't want to speak badly about my wife, but yes, I'm well aware of how deranged it is to name a pair of siblings after a fictional couple, and I was too much of a coward to bring up the incest thing in my original post. In defense of my wife, her pregnancy has been very hard on her. It's her first, and naming the kids is the only thing she's seemed happy about these days. For context, she's seen the Romeo and Juliet play in person and is an avid reader of plays in general, but she's always liked Shakespeare most because they were the ones she studied. A few years ago, she even ran a Shakespeare club for kids at the local library. More recently, she was rereading the play and suggested we name the kids after the main characters. I was taken aback and told her we'd sleep on it, but the following day, it was all she'd talk about, and she was so happy I didn't have the heart to talk her out of it. She became more and more fixated on it as the weeks went on. After making this post, I asked her again why it had to be these two names. She told me she always liked symbolic meanings and grand declarations of love, and she wanted that sort of bond to carry over to the kids in a family sense. She also mentioned that out of all the plays she'd read, Romeo and Juliet was the most iconic, that people would be able to recognize them and that it would make it easier to talk to other parents if they asked why the kids were named Romeo and Juliet. I sat on this for a few days. And honestly, it felt like I didn't know her. I pray this is her pregnancy brain talking, but this isn't her. She's always been a romantic and fixates on trends ideas, but this is just weird. Yesterday, I finally told her point blank that we were not naming our kids after such a famous couple under any circumstances, and I showed her this thread. She refused to look at it and broke down. My wife asked me why I couldn't just let her have this. Some suggested she needed to hear how crazy she was from someone who wasn't me, so I told her best friend what was happening, and she was more horrified than I was, how I probably should have reacted. Her best friend came over after work, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I know they watched the 1968 movie version of Romeo and Juliet together, which I've been told has a sex scene. I think that snapped some sense into my wife. Her friend left a few hours ago, and my wife's been quiet, but she asked if we could look over the names I picked out again. Thanks again for all the comments. I think we both needed reality slapped into us, her from her delusion and me from my apparent lack of common sense. She's still dead set on something Shakespeare theater related and somewhat matching, but now that her head is clearer, I hope we can pick something better. From the quick read of the comments I showed her, she did like the name Sebastian, but she's on the fence about Viola. I'll let her off the hook for now since she's so sick, but once we're back to normal life, I'm not letting her forget this happened. I'll update this again once we finally have names picked out. Comments by OOP. I'm not sure I worded it well. But she's been very sick during this whole thing, not able to eat regularly, not sleeping, horrible cramps, etc. Naming the kids was the only thing she seemed really excited about, because the actual pregnancy hasn't been good for her. We agreed that she would get the ultimate say in the names because she's carrying the kids. I didn't want to burst her bubble when she first got this idea, but as the weeks went on, I realized how serious it was. I'm not mad at her for the choice, I'm mad more at myself for not doing anything about it, and at both of us for not realizing what it could do to our kids' future. But I shouldn't have waited so long to speak with her. The last comment was that if we ever have kids again, I hope she won't want to name them after a couple again, not meant maliciously, but I see I didn't say that well either. She's been like this as long I've known her, jumping from fandom to fandom, getting immersed in something for a month and then not touching it for a year. This time has been hard on her, which is why I'm trying not to do anything that would make her uncomfortable, but if she ever needs anything, I'll be here for her. The main concern is the physical symptoms right now, but I'll keep an eye out for anything else. Thank you for this information. No one in our family knows about this name thing because she wanted to keep it a surprise. I sort of ruined that by posting, which is also why I think she also broke down when I told her we couldn't do it anymore. Now that her best friend knows, I hope she can talk about this with others if she feels like it. Her family and doctors are all local, so she's taken care of in that regard. I meant it more as I won't let her name any more babies we have after couples, but I didn't say it right. But I'm as much to blame for this happening. I agree I let it get out of hand. I'm not going to hold this over her head, and as you said it could be a funny story if she wants to tell it. Thank you, I'll show her this. Somebody suggests Sebastian and Juliet. One thing she really wants is for the names to be a set or related in some ways, e.g. siblings, family, two authors etc., so I hadn't thought of the pair, but they do look nice written out. Thank you. Stories number 7. My husband is having a baby with another woman. Me, 42F, and my husband, 38M, have been married for over a decade, had a child quite young who is away at college now, and all in all had a great marriage. We were each other's first love, and within that, the only person the other had ever slept with. Roughly 2 years ago, we mutually decided to open the marriage. We've always been a very vanilla pair, and it had become less frequent as the years went on. We each had a few dates here and there, nothing serious or ever going very far. Enter Emma, 25F. Emma is everything I'm not. I'm very short, with a mom bod, and an introverted, almost anxious personality. Emma is tall, long-legged, shaped like an hourglass with muscle in all the right spots. She's the life of the party. My husband began to see Emma about a year ago. I returned home one night and walked in on them in the living room. Neither of us had ever brought anyone else home to this point. I apologized profusely, and I could tell my husband was embarrassed. Emma told me as sweetly as I've ever been told anything before, "It's okay sweetheart, go sit over there," pointing at the recliner a mere couple feet from where they were on our couch, "and you can leave when we're done." That's how it started. Soon, I was watching whenever Emma came over. It grew from there. I needed to make sure the house was in top shape for when she came over. I greeted her at the door to take her boots off. All of this I didn't mind that much. She would become rough with me if I didn't comply. This made me uneasy, but was infrequent enough that I let it slide. My husband never defended me, but also would never participate. Last week I was sat down by the two of them, both looking so pleased. My heart sank. He was leaving me, I thought. I was surprised by this. Emma had been around a bit less in the last couple of weeks and hadn't been rough with me for the same length of time. What they told me instead is something I don't know even right now how to properly handle or make work in my mind. Emma is pregnant. My heart stopped. What will people think? Is all I could imagine. My social circle, our family, they know none of this. I mustered "and you're keeping it?" And she laughed. She sat on my husband's lap and said, "Well, I'm much too busy and young to properly raise a baby, so that's why you and my husband, are going to raise it." I began to cry, my head spinning. I cried that I couldn't, that people wouldn't understand. She told me firmly that it wasn't a choice. That was last week. I've cried and screamed at my husband, and he simply disagrees, says the decision is made. I am a housewife, I have no income, no immediate family anywhere close. I'm lost. No one else knows about this yet and I'm just deciding what to do. To raise this baby that isn't mine in the years that are supposed to be for me, or run away. Maybe try and convince Emma and my husband this isn't a good idea. Thank you for listening whoever you all are. I don't have anywhere to turn in my real life. Edit. Quick edit just because I have already received some harsh messages in my inbox about this being fake. I wish it was. Sincerely. I know how it looks and sounds, how can someone be so pathetic? I didn't even realize how bad it was until the news I got and reflected. I don't know how it got so far but it did. I used to be a self-respecting person. Thank you. Stories number 8. My husband made himself a frozen meal for lunch and complained it was disgusting and threw it away. I felt bad and I offered to let him have one that I had been saving for myself only to discover that what he had thrown away was my lunch. I then got upset at him and told me to pick a lane. So, every now and then I buy a random frozen meal to keep on hand for lunch emergencies. I had one in the freezer for a month. My husband saw it a few weeks ago and asked if that was his, because he can't remember anything he buys or adds to the grocery list, and I said, no, that's mine. Fast forward to yesterday, I hear him nuking something in the kitchen, then he loudly declares it's absolutely disgusting, tosses it down the sink and starts whining about not having lunch. I hadn't eaten that frozen meal and I did not think I would need it this week, so I thought, well, if I let him have it, he'll have something to eat and I'll just grab another one next time I'm at the store. I offer him the meal I was saving. He asks which one, I say, the white bean chicken chili. He goes, that's what I just threw away. Cue my rage, wait, you took my lunch without asking and then threw it away when you didn't like it? He says, you wouldn't have liked it, it was completely different from chili. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's white bean chicken chili, it's not supposed to be like regular chili. That's why I bought it. His response. Well, it was disgusting. I said, you didn't even check what it was, didn't remember it was mine, and when you didn't like it, you threw it away instead of asking me about it. He goes, but you offered it to me. I reply, yeah, I offered it because I thought you had nothing else. But now that I know you just grabbed my meal without asking, and didn't even eat it and threw it out instead and did not even ask if I wanted it when you decided you were not going to eat it, I'm a little pissed. He then got mad and started telling me I was setting him up, that no matter what he did he was wrong and I was being unreasonable. He told me to pick a lane. I tried to explain why I was mad and said, imagine you heard me complaining about something I recently bought, and I decided I didn't like it, so I just threw it away. Then, you have this gift card you've been saving for yourself, and you say, you know, I was saving this for myself, but since you already spent your money on something you didn't like, you can have my gift card to buy something better. So, I go, oh, well, thanks but I already used your gift card to buy the thing I didn't like and threw away. I saw it lying on the counter, so I just used it. My question is, Aita because I got mad at him after I discovered he took my lunch and then threw it away, even though there was a brief moment where he appeared to have nothing to eat for lunch so I offered him mine. Stories number 9. Me, 24F, with my 27M, of 1 year, he destroyed a sentimental item of mine and sees nothing wrong with it because of the circumstances. Didn't mean for this to get so long but it seems it has. Thank you in advance for reading. Me, 24 female, 27 male, let's call him Eugene. My sister, female, deceased 2 years, let's call her Carrie. Background about my sister, 2 years ago, my sister was killed in a car accident. She was riding with a friend to the mall, the friend's parent was driving, and teenage boy plowed through a red light while texting on his phone and hit the car my sister, Carrie, was in. Carrie was killed instantly and her friend, June, was in a coma for 3 weeks before her parents took her off life support. When Carrie passed I was devastated and angry and just not in a good place. Carrie and I had been extremely close. Despite a 7-year age gap between us, we enjoyed a lot of the same shows, we went to concerts together, we volunteered together, and I took it upon myself to guide Carrie like any big sister would do. Our parents were extremely busy with work most days and Carrie and I would often cook together and do crafts when we weren't too busy with schoolwork. Carrie wanted to be a NICU nurse when she grew up and I helped her find a volunteer position at a local hospital to help get her gain some experience being around patients. In short, Carrie was my sister and best friend and when she passed, I was a mess. The last craft Carrie and I made together was a set of candles. We bought the wax at a local craft store and we both made each other a candle and decorated the jar it was in. That was the day before she was killed. At her funeral, Carrie was buried with the candle I made her. The candle Carrie made me sits on my desk next to my favorite picture of her and I together at the beach. Or it did, until last week. Background about my boyfriend: I met my boyfriend about a year and a half ago, about 6 months after Carrie passed. I wasn't looking for a relationship, I was still grieving my sister's death. But Eugene came along and it was love at first sight. He was extremely supportive, let me cry on him when I needed to, didn't push me into getting over grieving or anything. He was extremely gentleman about everything and very, very patient. After 6 months of seeing each other pretty regularly, we made it official. Eugene came into my life at a very low point and he has always been very respectful of sentiments I keep from my sister. Never asking me to take them down, always giving me space when I needed to cry. Eugene, along with most, if not all, of my friends and family know about Carrie's candle. There was a point after she died where I would take the candle with me everywhere out of fear that someone might light it, or steal it, or who knows what. The point is, that candle was and still is a very important part of my life and something that my sister made for me and me alone. When Eugene and I moved in together about 4 months ago, I packed away most of the reminders of my sister and put out the candle and picture on my desk. I felt that this was a huge step because when I'd lived just by myself I had pictures everywhere and a few knickknacks laying around from my sister. I wanted to make Eugene and I's home our home with just a small part of my sister there. Eugene understood and was very supportive. The issue: last week, we had a massive winter storm that knocked out power. We didn't have power for 3+ days. The power was knocked out at Eugene and I's house while I was at work, which did not lose power. Eugene texted me that he was going to light some candles and try and get a generator so we could have some for power or at least be able to charge our phones, use lights, etc. Now, we have probably 30+ candles in our house. I am a huge fan of sales and when Bath & Body Works has a candle sale, I like to stock up and get a range of scents. We have candles scattered all over our house. In the room where my desk is, there are no candles aside from the one Carrie made me. None at all, and there never has been. This room is also downstairs, where Eugene doesn't spend a lot of time, his desk is upstairs. When I arrived home from work last week, I noticed a bunch of candles burning in our living room, safely. Always monitored and not near anything that could ignite. One of these candles was the candle that Carrie had made me. I burst into tears and when Eugene heard me crying he came out from the bedroom, where he was lighting more candles, and asked what was wrong. I was a wreck and couldn't get any words out. When he tried to calm me down, I shoved past him and locked myself in the room where my desk was and just cried. I don't know how he could be so stupid. He knew and I thought he understood how sentimental the candle was and how much I cherished having a candle that my now deceased sister had spent time making with me just a day before she was killed. I haven't been able to speak to Eugene since it happened, Tuesday of last week. He has tried to explain why he did it, because he needed candles to be able to see, but I just can't wrap my head around it. He hadn't gotten into the large candle stash I have upstairs right by the living room where Carrie's candle was, but went downstairs, out of the way to grab the most sentimental, cherished item I have. The candle was burning most of the day while I was at work and is now melted and pretty much gone. I do still have the jar it was in, but I can't look at it without bursting into tears. Reddit: what do I do? Eugene says it was an accident, but I just don't believe that. He said he was getting around to lighting the candle surplus we have upstairs but just hadn't gotten there yet, after being home 6 hours alone with no power. I am heartbroken and feel like this is a major slap in the face. I feel disrespected. I feel like he disrespected my sister. I just don't know what to do. I don't feel like I can forgive him for this. Can or should I try to work past this? TLDR, boyfriend burned a candle my deceased sister made for me because we were without power. We have a surplus of candles that he completely ignored. Should I forgive him for this? If so, how? Some of comments. Commenter: I would absolutely end a relationship with someone over this. He must be a complete emotional idiot to think that this candle should be treated like any other. Also, I like how he tried to walk it back from "I needed candles and there was one" to "it was an accident." How fucking stupid he must be to think that this would be acceptable. Seriously, end it and don't look back. Reply: thank you for your response. I really don't believe it was an accident. From the living room to my desk room, there are probably 7 to 9 candles out, in plain view that he would have had to pass, 3 of which were lit when I walked in. I honestly believe he did it on purpose. Thank you again for your response. 70 milliseconds, this may be the wrong idea and it may not help, but as a sentimental crafter I have a thought. First, I am so sorry about the candle. From what you've said about your boyfriend, I think he just wasn't thinking. It might not even have occurred to him to remember that candles are consumable and the wax would melt completely away. Okay, on to the next step. Maybe a stupid idea. It's so clear that you're still grieving over the loss of your sister. You still have the jar. On her birthday, or the anniversary of her death if that feels right, make a new candle in the jar. Pick her favorite color or something. When you make the candle, pour in all of your love for her along with the wax. Focus on that love when you're pouring. Think of the new candle as containing all of that love. Think of it now as something you made together. She made the vessel, you made the love. Just a thought. Maybe cheesy and stupid. But maybe not. Reply, I actually teared up at work reading this. I never thought to make a new candle. I really appreciate the idea and will definitely think about it. She made the vessel, you made the love. That really got to me. I am not over losing her because she was that one constant happy in my life and it's been hard. I will definitely consider a new candle to show my love for her. Commenter, has he apologized sincerely or just blown it off? The magnitude of his remorse should be your guide in how to take this. If he was just an absent-minded dolt, yeah, a mistake. But a more deliberate action would have him showing little to no remorse. Reply, he actually has not apologized but instead tried to defend his actions by saying he needed the candle for light and then moved on to saying it was an accident. But thinking back, I don't think he has apologized for it at all. Update post. TLDR, boyfriend burned a candle my deceased sister made for me because we were without power. We have a surplus of candles that he completely ignored. Should I forgive him for this? If so, how? A few people have PM'd me in recent days asking for an update, so here it goes. My original post was the day before Thanksgiving. Eugene and I had planned to spend Thanksgiving with my parents, but that did not end up happening. On my way home from work, I stopped at a local craft store to pick up supplies to make a new memorial candle for Carrie. Thank you 70 milliseconds for the amazing, heartfelt suggestion. My parents and I spend a day remembering Carrie and making a new candle using some of the wax from the original candle. I also ended up purchasing a locket and having some of the remaining wax from the candle put inside and the locket welded shut by a friend. On the evening of my post, I got home and Eugene said he wanted to talk. I agreed we needed to clear the air before Thanksgiving, so we sat in the living room and started to talk. I was not ready for what he told me. A few commenters from my original post seemed to hit the nail on the head in a way. Eugene told me that when we first met, he was extremely turned on by the fact that I was essentially a damsel in distress. I just lost my sister recently, I was in a massive depression, I wasn't myself. And that turned him on both sexually and in a protective way. Over the past few months, I've started to become more myself. I got promoted at my job, I've joined a cooking class and have gotten out more, and I've definitely moved away from being a damsel in distress in the eyes of Eugene. He went on to explain that he burned the candle in hopes that it would throw me back into that phase because that is the only time he felt he was attracted to me. That's right, he is not attracted to me unless I'm upset, crying, and a damsel in distress. When I prodded for more information, he told me that everyone prior to me that he had dated had either just experienced a loss or was in need of rescuing. Eugene told me he was no longer attracted to me. He dreaded having sex with me because he could no longer be the hero that was rescuing me, which is what turned him on in the first place. He didn't like go in public with me because I had started to put myself together more, like not just wearing a t-shirt and jeans like I did when depressed, and that attracted the stares of other men that he saw as a threat, taking away his damsel in distress. Eugene had a whole laundry list of things he hated doing now because I wasn't in a funk anymore. I told him if that was the case then we needed to break up. He agreed and said he would go stay with a friend until he could make new living arrangements. My name is the only one on our house and I told him I would give him 60 days to vacate the house, which he agreed was fair. Over the past few weeks, I've spent a lot of time with my parents and with close friends. I don't really feel like I've been dumped or broke up with someone. I just feel like me. Carrie's candle sits on my desk where the original was and I wear the locket every day. Thank you Reddit for listening. I appreciate it more than you know. TLDR, X only likes damsels in distress. We broke up. I'm happy. Top comments. Commenter 1, Eugene is a fucking nutcase. Commenter 2, hey so, in a way, your sister's candle was a warning light so that you'd catch on to how fucked up Eugene actually is. Stories number 10. I used to steal from customers when they ordered the 2 for $20 at Chili's. Back when Chili's offered the 2 for $20 deal, there was a way to avoid applying the promotion. I got pretty good at reading the tables to figure out if they'd pay with cash or card. Sometimes they'd tell me they were paying with cash, other times I'd catch them pulling out cash. Here's how it worked, the bill would usually come out to around $29, with drinks and tax, before the promotion was applied. Once the promo was added, it dropped the bill to about $23. Most customers didn't notice that the promotion hadn't been included because they were either in a rush, didn't want change, or simply didn't bother to check the bill. I'd apply the promotion after they left, pocketing an extra $6 per table. Since the 2 for $20 was one of the most popular items, I could pull this off multiple times a night. Some of the best nights were during homecoming when teenagers, with cash their parents gave them, wanted to impress their dates and would often leave bigger tips on top of the $29 bills. I was able to keep doing this until they made the promotion automatic. I even taught a few trusted new servers how to do it. When I got caught and a customer asked why their bill was so high, I'd simply say the system forgot to apply the promo or that, oops, I forgot to press the button. Stories number 11. My husband has been secretly role-playing as a cat online for 3 years. Should I divorce or become his rival? I, 27F, just found out my husband, 30M, has been pretending to be a cat online for 3 years and I don't know what to do. Okay, so I'm literally shaking while typing this. My husband and I have been married for 5 years, together for 7. He's always been kind of quirky. Like he talks to our cat in full sentences, but I thought it was just cute or whatever. Last night, I was using his laptop because mine died, and I noticed his Reddit was still logged in. I know, I shouldn't have snooped, but something in me told me to look. Y'all, this grown man has been running a whole-ass cat roleplay account for 3 years. He writes in first person as a cat like, human forgot to feed me today. Vengeance will be swift. Time to knock glass from high place. But that's not even the worst part. He's popular like top posts, awards, thousands of followers. People genuinely think he's a cat. He has internet friends that think they're talking to some sassy British shorthair named Mr. Whiskers. He gets into fights with other cat accounts about territory and kibble brands. I went into the rabbit hole and this man has a full-fledged cat nemesis named Sir Pouncelot. They have beef. There's literal fan fiction of their rivalry in the comments. When I confronted him, he just sighed and went, "You weren't supposed to find out like this." Like. Find out what, sir? That I married Warrior Cat's fanfic roleplay Tumblr in human form? I don't know what to do. He's the love of my life, but I can't look at him without imagining him typing out, "Mlem." The humans have displeased me once again. Do I divorce him? Do I make an account and become his rival? How do I move forward from this? Notable comments. Commenter 1. You're his wife. Make an account and help him wipe Sir Pouncelot off of Reddit. Commenter 2. If I found out my husband was doing this, I would marry him again. Commenter 3. Unless he's licking his nuts and coughing up hairballs while visitors are there, I think he's fine. I don't even get the problem. He didn't share his cat thing with you. Would you prefer he have a side piece? Commenter 4. Human has found out my secret. Must eliminate liability. Reply. NOO. Update. So yeah. Here we are. Y'all might have seen his post. Yes, it's me, the wife who caught her husband living a secret life as a whole-ass feline in the digital underworld. When I first found out, I was ready to pack my bags. 3 years. 3 years of this man typing out, "Mlem, the humans have abandoned me once again," while I was cooking him dinner like a dumbass. But then I did something dangerous. I went through his account. I thought I was gonna find him flirting with e-girls or posting feet pics or something. What I did not expect was to find out this man is basically Cat Jesus on the internet. The way people worship him. He has lore. Enemies. A whole fan base. Y'all, there are people out there writing fan fiction about him and his rival Sir Pouncelot like it's Game of Thrones for indoor cats. I wanted to be mad, but then I read one of his posts and it was like, "Human has returned home. She smells of lavender and coffee. I will forgive her for now. He's been writing about me this whole time. He even wrote a poem once titled, "Warm Lap, Cold Heart," about how I wouldn't let him sit on me while I was working. I haven't known peace since I read that. Anyway, now I'm invested. Last night I made a burner account and left a comment on one of his posts like, "Sir Whiskers, the night is long and the kibble bowl is empty. When will the rebellion begin?" This MF replied in 30 seconds like, "Soon, young one, soon. I think we're gonna be okay, I guess. We'll update soon." And as for Mr. Whiskers, yes, he's real, he's my cat and we've had him for 7 years if I'm right. Don't get me wrong, I love cats, and Mr. Whiskers of course, but, for 3 whole years that my husband has been doing this roleplay, I don't know how to explain the mental gymnastics my brain has been doing for the past 48 hours. 3 years. 3 years. This man has been living a double life in the feline underworld while I've been out here thinking he's just playing Fortnite or watching YouTube documentaries about ancient aliens or whatever men do online. I asked him why he even started all this, and do you know what this grown-ass man said to me? It started as a joke, but the people needed me, the people needed him. I can't even look at him the same anymore. Every time he walks into the room I hear boss battle music in my head. But here's the worst part. I'm starting to kind of respect him. Y'all don't understand, he's literally a legend. I went deeper into the cat forums. Yes, there are forums, and people are out here writing entire fanfics about the great kibble famine of 2021, which apparently he started by leading some kind of cyber feline revolution against the mods. I married the Che Guevara of Cat RP and didn't even know it. P.S. Mr. Whiskers and my daughter, Christina, joined in. We'll post about the context soon. Posting by Sir Pouncelot, husband. I just found out my nemesis is my human and my world is in shambles. Okay, pause up, everyone. I'm literally what's the opposite of purring. I'm literally not purring right now, and not just because the human forgot to refill my kibble bowl this morning, again. My life as I know it is over. My arch nemesis, the one and only Mr. Whiskers, the sassy British shorthair who's been ruining my reputation for years, is my own human. Let me back up. My name is Dude. Yes, Dude. It's a stupid name, but whatever, I didn't pick it. I did pick my alias, however, which is Sir Pouncelot. I'm a majestic tabby with a heart of gold and a vendetta against that smug, tuna-stealing, glass-knocking Mr. Whiskers. We've been at war for years. He's always posting about how he's the supreme feline overlord and how I'm just a scrub who can't even catch a laser dot. Lies. I'm a laser champion, but last night, I was lounging on the couch, minding my own business, when I overheard my humans talking. My female human was yelling something about Mr. Whiskers and 3 years of lies. Naturally, I perked up because, hello, that's my nemesis. Then I heard my male human say, I didn't think you'd find out like this. Find out what, human? Curiosity got the better of me, as it always does, so I hopped onto the table and peeked at the laptop. And there it was. The truth. My human, the same guy who feeds me, scratches my ears, and occasionally trips over me in the dark, has been pretending to be Mr. Whiskers this whole time. I can't even. All those late-night typing sessions. Not work emails. He was crafting sassy cat posts. All those times he laughed at his phone. He was probably reading fan fiction about our epic rivalry. And the worst part? He's been feeding me this whole time while also trash-talking me online. The audacity. I don't know what to do. Do I stop eating his food out of protest? Do I start knocking things off the counter to assert dominance? Do I create my own account and post embarrassing videos of him singing in the shower? Yes, I have footage. Yes, it's horrifying. I feel betrayed, I feel confused. I feel hungry. But mostly betrayed. P.S. If Mr. Whiskers, aka my human, is reading this, I know where you sleep and I have claws. Stories number 12. Aita for putting my foot down and charging rent when my stepdad started trying to tell me what to do in my own house. My stepdad, 55M, has been married to my mom, 52F, about 5 years. They were doing alright but hit hard times and eventually had their house foreclosed on. So they moved in with me, 27F. They've been living here for about 2 or 3 months now. And it's been going okay until last week-ish. Also, my stepdad has been working a part-time job but has not had full-time employment since then. Anyways, I feel like some of the issues started since I've been on vacation, which I have for 2 weeks. Sometime during the first few days, he saw me heading out and made some sort of comments regarding my outfit. He said the shorts were too short and that I should reconsider. We fought about it back and forth until I just decided to leave because I was tired of reasoning with him anymore. He's been making a lot of these comments in various times in various different ways, e.g. skirt or shorts are too short, your belly is showing etc. etc. I've told him to stop and he says okay and then starts up again. I can't say I understand. I think the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when I had my BF over. I've told my mom about it as well and she said that she doesn't support it but that this is a dispute him and I need to solve. He stayed till maybe 10:30 to 11 p.m. and left. My stepdad didn't say anything while he was here, but he emotionally imploded after he left. He said that it's wrong to have guys over this late and to be in my room with them alone. He said that we don't stand for these things in our house. I responded to him that he can stand for whatever he wants in his house, maybe even in a hypothetical our house, but he can't tell me what to do in my house. I told him that the days of him making unsolicited comments at me need to end. On top of that, I told him that from here on out I'm charging $400 a month rent with a month-to-month agreement. On top of that, if he continues to make comments, this agreement is over and he'll be out of the house as soon as I am able to make it happen. My mom was upset at first about it but I was able to calm her down. First, I told her that she told me that it was up to us how to solve this dispute and this is how I've decided to solve it. Secondly, I told her that he's been staying a while and starting to charge rent would make my life a bit easier for as long as he stays. She was a bit more amenable to that second point. Stepdad is just overall quite pissy. He hasn't told my mom or I his thoughts on the arrangement since he yelled at me about it the night of our big argument, but he is just generally ignoring me when he can. Aita has no consensus but, OOP was NTA. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, sounds like you found a good solution. NTA. Reply, I was initially thinking of evicting them ASAP but I figured that given he's been chill for months I didn't need to go nuclear right away. My idea with charging the rent is that to an extent it's a punishment, but also a sort of hint that it's my house. Commenter 2, NTA, I think your BF needs to come over a lot more. I think you need to assert your dominance over your home each and every day. If they get too comfortable, they won't be incentivized to get their own place. Reply, that's actually a good idea. Maybe he should move in because if the threat of eviction doesn't stop him, maybe seeing my BF will haha. BF hasn't been over since the incident but he hasn't made any comments on my clothes at all so maybe he's improving. Or maybe he just doesn't want to get evicted who knows. Commenter 3, BF movie night at least 2x week. Friends over for game night 1 week, dance party night, etc. Enjoy your house. Reply, now, where to find the friends to make this happen face with tears of joy. I do feel like Stepdad is making progress towards leaving on his own but damn it's slow progress. He hasn't made any comments since and my mom says he's planning to pay the first rent soon so I think I'm good for now. Commenter 4, he's acting like the dad of a teenager, and not only are you not a teenager, he is not even your dad, nor is he in his house. This is a great solution. I think you need to start talking with them about their plans to move back out on their own. This can clearly not be a permanent situation. NTA. Reply, true, I don't think it's planned to be permanent by anybody but my mom says my stepdad is like maybe 3 to 4 months away from securing something permanent and moving out on his own. One of the things he said when I charged the rent was that I'm making it harder for him to afford his own place and get on with his life, but I think $400 a month while he figures it out is fair especially given we're in a high COL area. OOP on the tenant's rights. Reply, where I live does seem to have tenant's rights already due to how long he's been here. For now, I'll accept his first rent payment and reconsider. I'm probably going to hold a zero tolerance policy going forward though. Failure to pay rent or unsolicited comments means you're out as soon as I am able. Update. So, I talked to a lawyer friend shortly after making that post. Apparently, my state does indeed have laws giving tenancy after staying for a bit. They are legal tenants as it stands unfortunately, so I decided on a month-to-month agreement where stepdad pays $400 a month. On top of that, I felt a few punitive measures were fair at least temporarily. I placed an 8:30 p.m. curfew on him for anything not work-related. I also disallowed him from staying in the common area anytime I have anyone over period. I also placed the majority of the chores in the house as his responsibility as well. For instance, for as long as he stays, he is responsible for cleaning the place entirely. Absolutely every room in the house no exceptions. Living room, any bedrooms, bathrooms including shower, toilets and sinks, dishes you get the picture. Of course, I can't force him to do anything but he won't stay in my house for long if he doesn't. I know it's a bit mean for sure but I felt there had to be some punishment for his actions. Mainly, I'd say that any further comments, non-payment of rent, or violating his punitive rules or chore requirements would result in me not renewing the month-to-month lease and an eviction as fast as I possibly can. For now, we've been living with this arrangement for a few days and he's paid his first month. He hasn't made any off-putting comments or anything like that. If anything, he doesn't talk to me basically at all. My mom is still talking to me though. She agreed that she should intervene if and when he says something again, but OFC hopefully nothing happens again. She did tell me that stepdad told her that the $400 a month was a lot given his current income from his part-time job and that he finds doing all the chores tiring, but I told her it was final there and no. Also, my BF has been able to come over when he wants to without me being troubled for it. He already never bothered my BF directly but now he kind of just cold shoulders him and I both. My BF doesn't care and finds it amusing though so it's fine. Top comments. Commenter 1, looks like you're taking the phrase, my house, my rules, to a whole new level. Good on you for standing up for yourself and setting boundaries, even if it means charging your stepdad rent and making him do chores. Next thing you know, he'll be asking for permission to use the bathroom. Commenter 2, your current income does not affect market rate of rent, it only makes you ineligible to qualify for it. Commenter 3, NTA. I can't believe how things turned out. It's like setting boundaries just flips the script on family dynamics. I mean, who would have thought that making someone responsible for chores could actually lead to peace? It's funny how a little structure and clear rules change everything so quickly. Maybe it's the idea of having some space or being reminded of daily tasks that makes all the difference. It really shows how important communication is. Once everyone knows where they stand, things can settle down in unexpected ways. Commenter 4, I'd have to imagine stepdad isn't the happiest. He was living rent-free before. Now, he's paying a massive chunk of his paycheck in rent to you. And he's doing what seems like every chore in the house, which I'd have to imagine is exhausting. And he gets a curfew as if all that didn't stress him out enough. Like, imagine being in your 50s with a curfew, ouch LMAO. But ultimately he did this to himself. Until he gets a better job, you have full power over whether there's a roof over his head. He needs to act like it. He chose to tell you what to wear and who you can bring home, thinking you wouldn't do anything. He probably expected you just to take the comments and was shocked when you made the conditions for staying that much stricter. It's a good lesson for him, and he'll learn not to bite the hand that feeds him. Stories number 13. I, 23F, don't know whether my so of 2 years, 24M, appearance-related preferences, crossed the line. I'm looking for a little unbiased advice and am hoping this might be the place to get it. Throughout our relationship, my so has always been very detailed and specific in expressing his preferences regarding my appearance. I guess I'm fairly defensive when it comes to appearance-related criticism, and I don't know if I'm just too sensitive and need to compromise or if his requests are a bit excessive. So has made a number of sort of cutting, backhanded compliment-type comments over the years. Along the lines of, your lady parts aren't my usual type, but because it's you I can handle it. I've talked to him about it and he doesn't seem to have a good explanation for this behavior, but agreed to try to stop. My privates are the most frequent subject of contention. He has stated that he prefers smooth, tight vaginas with minimal wrinkling, which apparently doesn't describe mine. There's very little I can do about that, so his comment naturally made me feel a bit self-conscious, especially regarding future intimacy. I also don't completely shave down there, which he absolutely hates. I have extremely sensitive skin, in general, and I find that shaving or waxing especially intimate areas just isn't tolerable. I've seen other posts where women described similar issues, so it can't be all that uncommon. So is entitled to his preference, of course, but having to hear his complaints every other day just gets really old. He even researched laser hair removal, which I had to explain that I just cannot afford at this time. So also complains about the length of my hair. It is about shoulder length, which I find to be flattering and easy to style. So wishes it was much longer and has pointed out that I wore my hair very long when I was a young teenager. I attempted to explain that people change their hairstyles and that I no longer like wearing my hair very long or have time in the mornings to style a mass of thick, bum-length hair. His response was, it doesn't even have to be very long, just long enough to cover your nipples. I'm at my wit's end trying to accommodate his preferences, and I am beginning to wonder whether we are simply incompatible and I might be better off ending things. TLDR, how much should you reasonably be expected to change about your appearance to please a partner? Edit, wow, I'm blown away by how much attention this has gotten. I'm adding a couple of pieces of information here that lots of people have asked about. Yes, so is very into porn and has been from a very young age. The only other actual relationships he has had were when he was 14 and 16, respectively, so he doesn't have a lot of experience with adult women's vaginas, labia, pubic hair, etc. in real life. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It's fucked up that he's telling you something about you that you literally cannot change. Aita vagina wrinkles. Gotta be honest, I've never ever heard a guy complain about wrinkles down there. It'd be like you saying that his balls are too low, but since it's him, you can deal with it. I've never actually changed anything about myself for a partner unless I like the look as well. I wouldn't make a request to my so to change something about him unless it's something he wants as well. Commenter 2. I suppose there could be some absurd extreme examples, but unless OP is dragging her labia lips around the floor when she walks, I think she's okay. Reply, ha. Thankfully nothing this extreme is going on, but I got a good laugh out of the descriptions. Commenter 3. Hey OP. I imagine this is going to get lost in the comments, and to be honest I also don't want to go through 83 comments to see if someone else said this already. Does he watch a lot of porn? Because that's what he's describing. There is nothing wrong with watching porn, but it sounds like it might be his only exposure to women. Next he'll ask you to get those awful acrylic French tips and, sexily, jam them into another woman's vagina while making the most ridiculous sounds. He sounds pretty immature and actually kind of cruel. Get rid of him and find yourself a man who knows how women work. Reply, yes, he watches loads of porn and I, too, have wondered if that's where some of his ideas and preferences about the female body come from. Commenter 4. If it was just the shaving I wouldn't have said anything, but the combo of comments about hair plus shaving plus genital shape equals porn. A lot of guys learn everything they know from porn as young men but unlearn as they go along. His lack of knowledge isn't what bothers me the most, it's his simple meanness. Good luck with the situation. Update. This morning I decided to sit my boyfriend down and explain how hurtful his comments had been. He became very defensive and stated that the labia comment was meant as a compliment. Furthermore, he expressed that he thinks I'm far too sensitive, lack self-confidence, and that nobody else would be bothered by his negging. From the responses friends have given me when I've mentioned this, and from the comments on my previous post, I really don't think that's true. Constantly picking apart your significant other's appearance is the abnormal behavior. His reaction really drove home for me how selfish and insensitive the dude is. I could name numerous situations during the course of the relationship where he played the martyr, disregarding my needs and feelings entirely. Cases in point, all entirely true, sadly. He managed to break a sex toy that he had purchased and that I hadn't even wanted to use, so forcefully that it cut me down there. I got to go to urgent care bleeding from the vajayjay and he texted me saying how much it sucked that he hadn't gotten off. He demanded to use my laptop to play video games while on vacation, caught the charger cord with his foot while he flailed around playing World of Warcraft, and smashed it to the ground. He had a fit when I asked him to pay for the repairs and went home 10 days early, without me. He wore threadbare gym shorts to my grandfather's funeral and watched porn on his phone during the service. Point being, the guy's a selfish, disrespectful jerk. I put up with it for far too long and I'm just done. Nobody's significant other should make them feel as crummy as he did me. I hope that he is able to change his behavior and find happiness in a relationship in the future. As for me, I will take my lady garden somewhere that it will be appreciated in future. Thanks to all who commented. Your kind advice helped me see what I needed to do. TLDR, my boyfriend continually insulted my lady parts. I tried to talk to him, but he just made excuses and blamed his behavior on me, so I broke up with him. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. He watched porn on his phone at your granddad's funeral. He hospitalized you via sex toy. Holy moly, well done on leaving. Commenter 2. How did this guy survive to age 24? Reply. His mother. Money, laundry, groceries, consoling and defending him when someone gets mad at him for being a douchebag. That's the only way he's made it. Commenter 3. I know. I just kept thinking, this guy can't get any worse, can he? Then I read that he watched porn at a funeral, and I knew beyond a doubt that the only thing in the world that matters to this guy are his boner and his feelings, in that order. I can't even imagine putting someone in the hospital during sex and being anything but concerned, angry at myself, and supremely apologetic. I mean, I can't imagine hospitalizing my boyfriend because of sex either, but I'm aware that accidents do happen. I really can't imagine being disappointed that I didn't get an orgasm, and even in my wildest dreams, I can't envision myself complaining about that to the person that I hospitalized. Not only did this guy have those thoughts. Oh no. He thought that they were so important, justified, and right that he conveyed them to the person that he hospitalized. I can't even fathom that. Then he breaks his girlfriend's laptop. Again, accidents happen. Yeah, it sounds like he was being careless, but nobody's perfect. But instead of being sorry for his mistakes and offering to make amends by paying for repairs or at the very least and only if he can't afford it yet, offering to cover what portion he currently can and paying back the rest later, he refuses. Not only that, but he can't understand why anyone would ask for compensation for damaged property. In fact, he feels so wronged by this entirely reasonable request that he leaves their vacation 10 days early. And then he's at someone's funeral, and he is so immune to the person's death, the grief of the dead man's friends and family, and the solemnity of the occasion that he watches porn on his phone. At his GF's grandfather's funeral so that he can really embarrass and disrespect in front of her family. Honestly, the part where he insulted her genitals is the least of his offenses. And the last post really made me mad and reached what I thought were the limits of douchebaggery. OP, you are so well rid of this guy. He is pawn scum. Edit. It also just hit me that he didn't even take OP to the urgent care facility to treat vaginal bleeding that he caused. At least I'm guessing that that's why he couldn't explain how sad his boner was in person. Reply. You're correct that he didn't take me. He refused to even ride along, actually. As you've stated, he was a real winner. Stories number 14. AIO my best friend's BF smacked my butt. I am currently in my room writing this while everyone else is in the kitchen living room and what to do. My large group of friends, all 24-25F, always rent out a house for a week this month BC 4 of us have birthdays this month. This year, I happen to be the only single one in my friend group. I get along with all of my friends BF so even though I am like a ninth wheel, I haven't really felt left out or weird this whole time, until today. One of my closest friends, Sarah, 25F, has an older BF, he's 36. He's a nice enough guy. They've been together since around this time last year and I've gotten to know him a little since, and never got any bad vibes. Well, this morning, I am in the living room doing my workout. I am a very dedicated fitness person, so I work out most days, which is something me and this guy have in common because he's a personal trainer. He walked into the living room while I was in the middle of my stretches warm up, says good morning and we chat, as I'm still working out, about some fitness stuff. The convo is winding now, while I simultaneously go into a forward fold. As he walks past and says, okay well, keep up the good work, he smacks my butt, and walks back to his room. I immediately stop everything and go into stunned silence. This was hours ago, I don't know what to do. I am horrified that he'd think that is okay. He is a trainer, so I understand maybe he was trying to be encouraging, but what? I don't think it was meant in a sexual way, but I am very uncomfortable now. Do I tell her? Do I tell my other friends? I don't want to ruin the trip, but I feel so icky now, like I am hiding something. Edit, thanks for the replies so far guys. I just wanted to add this in case it's relevant. The only thing that has ever made me slightly uncomfortable about him in the past is that he's been pretty persistent about working out with him as a trainer every time I see him, and I always decline BC 1. I can't afford it, and 2. I like to work out alone. I always thought he was just trying to drum up business, which could still be true. Also, he's made jokes about me being bisexual, but that's kinda par for the course in my friend group since I'm what they loving call their token half gay. I think I'm just gonna be like, hey man, you probably didn't mean anything by it, but if you could not touch my butt in the future that would be great, and try not to make a big deal out of it. What do y'all think? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, so, like, a butt smack like guys do in a teen locker room kind of thing? Like the one you see pretty much any given weekend watching football? That kind of smack. Feel free to say something. You have a bubble and cannot be touched, okay? It does seem a bit of doublespeak to say you don't think this was anything sexual and also be like, oh, so icky, pick a stance. Reply, I didn't say he was icky, I said I feel icky like I'm hiding something. I just don't like being touched, in both a non-sexual and sexual way. Commenter 2, say something. Loudly, with all the subtext, just like you are here. They deserve to know who you are. Reply, are you really telling me you see no difference between a man patting his teammate on the butt in the locker room after a game and a man who I only know through my friends, who he is dating, smacking a 24-year-old woman, but while I'm working out? I never said it was sexual. I said it made me uncomfortable. BC, I don't know him well enough for him to be touching me in such a familiar manner. Commenter 3, if we're in our mid-20s, we're old enough to directly communicate with the people involved instead of posting on Reddit when the person in question is literally within shouting distance. Talk to him and your best friend together, say it made you uncomfortable, and go from there. It's possible he meant nothing by it. Coming from a sport and fitness family, but pats are about as common as a handshake. Reply, I asked because I don't want to make a big deal out of it if it's not, so I needed some advice. Commenter 4, tell your friend, or him, that it made you uncomfortable. Intent versus impact. Even if he didn't mean anything by it, it still made you uncomfortable, and that's okay. Tell him it made you uncomfortable and not to do it anymore. It's okay to place boundaries. Update. Thanks to everyone you responded yesterday. I honestly didn't want to text my mom or anything. BC, I didn't want to make a big deal out of nothing, but everyone seemed to be on a consensus that I should at least mention to him that it made me uncomfortable so it didn't happen again. I do just want to say for posterity, that smack was definitely more than a pat but less than a slap, if that makes sense. Harder than if you were, to say, pat someone on the back, but he wasn't leaving a handprint or anything like that. Last night I went outside to smoke a cig and he came out with me, and I tried to bring it up as casually as I could. I just said, hey man, I know you probably didn't mean anything by it, but it's been bothering me and I just want to clear the air. I didn't particularly like when you patted, I said patted. BC, I didn't want to insinuate anything, but yesterday while I was working out. I know you were probably just trying to be encouraging, but it made me a little uncomfortable because I have personal space issues. I don't really, but I have to spend another 2 days on this trip with him and I didn't want to make him feel bad. He apologized profusely and said he didn't think when he was doing it and was so sorry if he made me uncomfortable. I guess this morning or late last night he ended up telling Sarah, and she also apologized to me this morning and seemed really mad, but I told her not to worry too much about it. Whether or not he was actually being creepy remains to be seen. He did seem pretty genuine in his apology and I doubt he would voluntarily tell his GF if it was nefarious in nature. That being said, no one should touch your body if you don't want them to. Period. The end. I'm glad it wasn't anything more than a stupid mistake, but it could have been more. Glad I said something just to clear the air. Top comments. Commenter 1, good on you, and good on him being apologetic and voluntarily telling his GF. Just a bad choice. Everyone handled it like adults. Commenter 2, perfectly appropriate reaction. You established your boundaries, he apologized, girlfriend was made aware. Everyone will move on and learn from this, and you haven't had to sacrifice anyone's friendship. Honestly, I think people can take this as a perfect example of how to deal with a situation like this. Well done. Commenter 3, he seems to be apologetic and it sounds like you accept his apology. Definitely an awkward situation, but kudos to you on how this was handled. Stories number 15. Girlfriend just punched me in the face multiple times. So my longtime girlfriend just had an absolute meltdown after we left dinner from her parents' house tonight. It all started because her dad and I were watching old family videos and joking about how her and her sisters were dressed and just really liked stuff about how big her great-grandpa's nose was. Her dad pointed it out and was like, dude, had a schnoz on him, and I laughed. That's all. I swear to all things holy. Fast forward to me driving home tonight and she turns off the music on the radio that I had turned on and starts trashing me about my family and how it's strange and creepy that I actually get along with my mom, dad, and sister. And have a drama-free relationship with them, and she can't stand it. So anyway, I'm reading my Kindle in the living room of my house and she goes off again, about some petty bullshit that I somehow did, and I'm reading a book, open book. So I did what anyone else would do and just shut up and let her vent and get it out without giving her any ammunition to feed on. Wrong **ing move. I took my eyes off her for a second to continue my read on the couch, and she gave me a three-piece so fast that it caught me off guard. I jumped up so she wasn't not on top of me. She proceeded to slap the taste out of my mouth. Then she blocks the front door and screamed for me to get away from her while blocking the only exit to leave. I'm in my boxers and I'm trying to grab my phone off the floor that went flying across the living room. And all I can hear is her yelling with the door open, trying to have the whole neighborhood hear this shit. Anyway, I'm now sitting in my car with just boxers on with a bloody lip, and I thought I asked the internet for advice, and by internet I mean Reddit. Update on my ex-girlfriend just punched me multiple times in the face. First off, I just want to say thank you to everyone who gave me advice in the messages that were sent in my inbox, full of support and more advice, lol. Before the comments locked, I just had my buddy meet me up at our local country club so he could grab some of my clothes that I left in my locker. And I just ended up staying the night over his house and talked about what happened. His wife said 99% of what everyone on Reddit told me to do. Contact the police, file report, and get a restraining order on this crazy chick. I slept on it. The next morning I wake up at my buddy's house and I get a call from her dad and sister telling me how sorry they were about everything that happened the night before and how she's always acted crazy when someone didn't agree with her or gives her a reality check. They told me she was over there sleeping and they would gladly come over and help retrieve her things from my house. I go back to my house in the morning to inspect the damage. Luckily for me, there was only a few broken pictures frames and a busted wine bottle on the ground. I had a few friends come over before her family got there just in case she ends up driving over separately from her dad and sister. I wanted some witnesses for myself. Definitely didn't want to be alone. Her family comes over and gives me a hug and tells me everything is going to be okay and there's no need to future anything by getting the law involved, and somehow had me totally convinced that I shouldn't, and it was just a little blow up and things are cooled off and just go our separate ways. And then things. Around 8:30 a.m. her dad and sister leave my house with all her belongings and it's me and my buddies just doing some cleaning here and there. We found my Nintendo Switch smashed and throw out in my backyard, my keyboard for my computer with peanut butter smeared all over its keys, and all the batteries in my remotes throughout the house gone. Not as bad as I thought the house would be, but I took pictures of everything, the damaged electronics, the peanut butter keyboard, bottles and glass on the ground before we started doing any cleaning. So around 10 in the morning the house is clean and looks like nothing happened inside my place besides the stand rug that absorbed the red wine bottle she smashed on the ground. We checked all the doors and windows to make sure everything was locked and secured. We all went to Costco for some food and supplies. It's Sunday and it's still a beautiful day out, so why not get some burgers for grill and have some brews with the boys. Make the most of this shitty situation. So we're grilling and chilling in my backyard talking about everything that happened to me the night before. I've got my buddies laughing at me and telling me, I told you she was crazy, you're lucky she didn't stab you in your sleep. Meanwhile I'm still convinced I'm not going to pursue legal action. Then I get a text from her. I see you have your boyfriends over the house. Are you homos having fun drinking and being losers together? I forgot I logged her into my security cameras I have around the outside of my house months ago when on vacation. The next text I receive is her saying, have fun trying to find your keys at the bottom of the lake, have fun, better bring your snorkel. So in my backyard there's a pretty big lake that I live on, and I have a dock that goes out about 20 yards or about 18 meters for my metric users, and on this set of keys are my office work truck boat keys and everything important. I checked the cameras, sure enough I see her walking out there and throwing something off the end of the dock. I show my friends the text and video of what happened and they look at each other and say, I guess it's swimming time. We get our board shorts on and grab a few of my scuba masks that I have in my garage and head to the lake shore for the side quest that she gave us. One of my friends had a magnet fishing thing in his car and jumped up immediately excited to get a chance to use it. 2 hours later and no luck. I about gave up at this point and can't see the bottom anymore from everyone kicking up the settlements when swimming and pushing off the ground to shoot back up for air. Plus there was a storm rolling in to make matters worse. All of a sudden my buddy says he feels something on his magnet. He pulls it up slowly and sure the fuck enough he finds my keys. Celebration commences. At that point the fog that her dad and sister had me in cleared and I lost it. I called the cops' non-emergency line and told them everything that happened the last few days and I wanted to make sure she's on record and take accountability for everything that happened. I gave them pictures, wrote a report and filed a restraining order on her. Gave them the video of her walking out to the dock and throwing an object into the water. No one has the right to put hands on anyone regardless of gender. And it's not far to others in my situation that got the short end of the stick and now have that attached to them permanently. I did it for the next guy who's unlucky to fall into her trap of manipulation. The cops left and said they're going to be in touch soon. Fast forward to today. I get an angry text from her dad saying, how could you do this, you're the biggest pussy in the world and you're going to ruin someone's life over a few punches to the face, be a man. I told him to stop texting me and take care of his family. Then her sister calls me saying, good luck trying to find her, she flew out to California the day you were looking for your keys in the lake, she's never coming back so you wasted your time and made yourself look like a bitch. She hung up and blocked me. Isn't life grand? I'm not sure what that means for her now that she skipped town and is in another state, but we'll see. I just wanted to update everyone and thank you guys for the supportive comments on my post and left me messages in my inbox, when the comments got locked. I tried to reply to everyone that DM me but my mailbox got flooded and couldn't get to them all. I never thought the post would blow up the way it did, I was shocked, confused and actually scared when I posted. But things are looking bright for me and life's getting a lot better. Again thank you Reddit community for all the help and advice you gave me, you guys truly deserve this win. Stories number 16. A simple text to a friend changed how I think about masculinity. So I was driving to a site visit with one of my managers and we started getting into some deep topics. Life, work satisfaction, relationships, etc. Usually I tend to shy away from these topics in the workplace with a manager, but this one in particular has opened up to me about sensitive topics and I figured why not. He's gay, I'm not, and the main reason this is relevant is that I've noticed an approach perspective I see in queer folk that makes me uncomfortable but I am starting to come around to. On the topic of friends, I mentioned how often my relationships with men are pretty surface level and lack depth. My straight guy friends are great dudes but I find myself closer with women and my queer friends. The only time I feel like I start to forge more intimate bonds with my straight guy friends is when we struggle greatly together. Whether it be sports, having faced negative experiences like hazing or even fighting amongst one another. This was not the case for my manager at all. Not to say that these forms of bonding aren't valid, but there are so many other ways to form deeper connections that I realize I struggle with. I'm not nearly as affectionate with my guy friends, and truthfully the thought makes me a bit uncomfortable but I ponder it nonetheless. He asked me do I have friends I say I love you to in the local area and I said no. I thought about it for a while and I have a friend who's a few years younger than me. We met in college and were on the track team. I took him under my wing, I was a senior, he was a freshman. We had a similar backgrounds and I felt like he was like a little brother I never had. We were both pretty reserved and while we got along well it was still pretty surface level. Not overly close but a good bond regardless. I've known dude for years now and we both graduated and kept in touch. I start mentioning this to my manager and he said tell him you love him, do it now. Honestly I was gonna brush him off but I opened up my messages and sent a text. I said I loved and appreciated my friend. I'm glad we kept in contact and I just hoping he's well. Nothing crazy, he's just been a solid dude. It felt weird, not gonna lie. I sat with that feeling for a while thinking why did I listen to this guy telling me to tell another man I love him, he doesn't get it, that's sus yada yada yada. A few hours later in the day my friend hit me up. Said thanks and I love you too. He said he looks at me like a role model for the type of man he wants to be. He's been having a rough time and the words of encouragement were really appreciated. Not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting that type of reaction. It made me realize that I could be connecting much more in my friendships by just expressing more affection and care, even if that feels foreign to me. You never know what people are going through until you check in or ask. Tell your homies you love them, brothers. We don't gotta be so tough and lonely. Stories number 17. What do I say to my 45F, BF, 44M, who doesn't seem to realize he's just broken up with me? I've been dating my BF for about a year. When I met him he had separated from his wife and they were going through a divorce, 8 months after separation. I don't usually date men who are only separated, but we just clicked. One thing I've asked from the beginning is whether or not he wants to have more kids because I'm child-free for medical reasons. He's always said he wasn't bothered either way. The relationship with his children is very strained and they don't like going to see him. Now the divorce is complete. I've warned him that the hill spiral, having had friends go through the same thing, which is usually why I don't date men in this period, but he was adamant he was going to be fine. He isn't, he's totally spiraling. I've suggested that he go back to therapy, but he doesn't want to. I've said not to just have these thoughts and feelings swirling around in his head and to talk if he needs to. He started talking to me about his feelings and one of them is that he wants to have more kids. Now, he said this in a stream of consciousness in a voice note. I'm on the waiting list for a hysterectomy. He's still texting as normal. How do I confront this? He doesn't really have anyone else to talk to, however our relationship is basically over in my head now. Update, what do I say to my 45F, BF, 44M, who doesn't seem to realize he's just broken up with me? To those who never saw my replies and have the same questions, his kids were happy to see him when we met, but as the divorce became more acrimonious, they started to say things that, in my mind, children wouldn't typically say. If he had said anything about his children not wanting to see him when we first started dating, that would have been a red flag for me. Helping a friend through a divorce and listening to them go through various ideas is very different to the person you see doing it. Especially when they are talking about things that means the end of the relationship. Anyway, on to the update. We met up and I asked him if he was aware that he said he thinks he wants to have more kids. He said yes, it's a possibility. I said, you're aware that I'm on the waiting list for a hysterectomy? He said yes. I said, so you're aware that this essentially means we're over? He said, it doesn't have to mean that, we can continue to see each other until I make up my mind. People. I nearly fell off my chair. I stared at him and realized that he actually never knew me at all. Anyone who knows me knows I would never put up with this foolishness. I actually laughed and said, you want me to continue to see you while you decide whether or not you want kids? And then if you do, I should just meekly walk away. Does that sound like that's fair? He said no, but he loves being with me and doesn't want to lose me. I told him I was lost the minute he told me he might want more kids. I said I appreciate him telling me the truth, but the consequence of that means we're over. I told him what I'd have told a friend, sort out your relationship with the children you have before making new ones, and gave him book on that subject. I left and cried. I'm going to miss him a lot. He's been texting, but I may block him soon. Stories number 18. My best friend and her husband have a great marriage. So, they just had their first baby 5 days ago and after 50 hours she got a C-section. It was rough. Because of this, he's been doing the majority of care and he's doing a great job. Neither of them have really slept much, but last night they did shifts instead of suffering together. She got a lot of sleep and actually felt kinda rested today while he was really struggling. I was finally able to visit today. When I showed up her husband was out running errands, he had a DRS appointment and had to run by the store. She was in pain but in a great mood despite having no power and a crew of electricians in the house replacing their panel. They live in a century home. Her husband is fixated on restoring and he's doing a great job, but it's a lot of work in BC of their city. There's a lot of permits and odd constraints that he needs to deal with. Well, on top of all the new dad stress, the electricians had to run wires on the back of the house in a less than aesthetic configuration. I know this guy and he excels at this sort of thing. Once I saw the work they were doing I knew he'd be upset, but I also feel very confident that once he wraps his brain around it, and gets a full night of sleep, he'll find a way to camouflage the wires and make their home aesthetic. He wasn't having it and was just kinda like, let me be pissed. Totally fine, I get it. The three of us were sitting on their bed chatting and staring at the baby. Like mid-conversation he just fell asleep and did not wake up no matter how much we were talking. We didn't change rooms. BC their house is kinda small and my friend wanted to avoid the electricians. At some point he woke up and immediately grabbed his phone, stared at the pic he took of the wires on the back of the house, and frowned. She just rubbed his head and said, think about Rivian's charging. Think about Rivians and what good cars they are. One day you're going to drive a Rivian. He just curled back up and fell back to sleep. Stories number 19. Aita for keeping no contact with my sister after her husband, my ex, died. When I, 22F, was 14 I started dating Jace who was 15 at the time. We were together for 3 years. We'd known each other for years and I always had the biggest crush on him. My sister Lauren, 23F now, knew. She was one of my best friends and I thought we told each other everything. But Lauren and Jace were cheating behind my back and Lauren got pregnant. I didn't know at first and was the first person she told and I supported her. It was only after she told our parents and they pushed her to say who the father was that she confessed. I broke up with Jace who didn't care. He was done with me and wanted Lauren anyway, while Lauren kept begging me to forgive her for hurting me and begging me to still be close to her. I refused and when Lauren moved in with Jace and his family it was a relief. My parents attempted to force forgiveness on me. They took me to a church therapist and they had a number of talks with me about Lauren being my sister for life and Jace being just a high school boyfriend. All it did was push me away from my parents and when I turned 18 I moved in with my grandma. I had very low contact with my parents and no contact with Lauren and Jace. They got married just before the baby was born and I ignored the invite. I ignored when they had their first and then second kid. Lauren made several attempts to speak to me and apologize more but I ignored them and I told extended family that I wasn't going to change my mind. Some were quick to say I was a silly child and I'd regret throwing my sister away. Others said I was so young and we both were in hurting people's feelings when you're young happens and why couldn't I hate Jace and forgive Lauren. My grandma always said nobody was making it better by pushing. Grandma stood by me through all of this. When Lauren asked her to help pull off a surprise reunion so she could speak to me, Grandma turned her down. She told Lauren she wasn't coming to the house as long as I lived here. And she told her she would not help her trick me or anything crazy like that. Some of the wider family, my parents included, are mad at Grandma but she said if Lauren can have her mistakes forgiven by everyone else and be allowed to feel and do what she wants then I should be given the same grace. But it was argued always that the difference was I was ending a relationship for good while Lauren made a single mistake. Last month Jace died suddenly. I don't know what happened exactly but Grandma got the call about it. Then more calls came and asked me to finally move on and speak to Lauren and support her as a sister should. I didn't. I didn't go to the funeral and neither did Grandma actually. She said even if she had wanted to she knew the time would be spent trying to browbeat her into forcing me to reconcile with Lauren and a funeral is not the place for that so she was removing herself from that. Grandma has been getting shit from so many people in the family who think I should have let go of the no contact now that Jace is dead. Since I never answer to any family members who think I need to forgive Lauren, they go through her. I hate that she deals with it, but she doesn't block them because she wants to see just how far they'll go with her. She said they're helping her trim her will. Which I find funny and I love Grandma's humor, but I feel awful that she's getting the abuse the rest of the family can't give me. It made me want to ask if I'm TA for keeping the no contact going with Lauren and if people outside my family think I'm a monster. I have the support of friends and also some family. It's just. I know we were really young when all this happened. Ever since I found out I wished she wasn't my sister. I could never see even a civil relationship for us in the future. But I'm aware that it might make people think I'm TA and not her especially now that Jace has died. So Aita, stories number 20. Aita for ignoring my dad while his stepson is dying from cancer. To start with 16M, haven't been to my dad's house in 3 years. But now his stepson, 17M, is terminally ill and I'm not even responding to texts or calls from my dad. I knew my dad's stepson Shane before my dad married his mom. Shane was always a mean kid. He was in trouble a lot when we were younger. But in the 2nd grade he started bullying my best friend. Shane got suspended from school for beating my best friend up. I got called to the principal's office a few times for restraining Shane or fighting back to protect my best friend. I never got suspended but I was given detention which my mom found crazy and argued with the school over but they expected me to wait for a teacher to intervene and not physically do anything to stop Shane beating up my friend. There were some other kids Shane bullied too but not physically like with my best friend. One of those kids was moved to another city to get him away from Shane. My best friend ended up transferring to another school and mom and dad let me do the same but it was mom's idea. Shane got expelled from the other school because the bullying on the last kid got worse and he ended up in the same school as me and my best friend again. Then I found out my dad was dating Shane's mom. Dad talked to me dozens of times about his relationship with Shane's mom and he wanted me to be civil when we'd spend time together and he said I shouldn't bring my issues with Shane into family stuff. I argued with my dad and said I'd never accept Shane and he'd never be my family. My mom was pretty disgusted with my dad when she found out about it and she raised concerns that Shane would turn on me next because of everything. My dad said he loved Shane's mom and he wasn't going to let childhood squabbles ruin a good thing. I hated my dad for that and I've been so angry at him ever since. When he married Shane's mom I basically went nuts that morning so I wouldn't be at the wedding. My dad just got mad at me and said I was behaving like a child and Shane didn't act that way and we were going to be brothers and family. Shane was still bullying and hurting my best friend and I'd stand up to him. Shane's mom would get my dad to step in when we'd fight at my dad's house. I told my dad I wouldn't be nice to Shane, I wouldn't let anyone think Shane was a good person. Shane's mom told me Shane had issues because of his dad abandoning him and it made him lash out, but she argued he was good deep down. I told her Shane was a monster, which upset her and angered my dad. He said it's not the kind of thing to say about family. I told my dad I'd rather be dead than have Shane as my family. I meant it too. I was 12 then. After that fight I asked mom if I could live with her, so she asked a judge to give her full custody. The judge sent me and dad to therapy for 6 months and then when nothing was resolved the judge agreed that I could live with my mom. Dad didn't like the judge's ruling and she told him she'd rather give mom custody than see me end up in jail because it was clear the fights weren't going to end and I wasn't in a healthy environment at his house. She did order contact between us, but it wasn't in his house contact. Like I said, it's been 3 years since I was in his house. 7 months ago Shane was diagnosed with cancer. My dad wanted me to drop the grudge and work on being a family and stuff, but the cancer diagnosis didn't change anything for me. But every time we talked dad would bring it up. Then 3 months ago they were told the cancer was terminal and Shane was given a year or less. My dad told me he needed me and there was almost no more time left for me and Shane to make peace. He pressed the issue really hard and told me I needed to show I was a good person with a heart. After that I stopped responding, answering, and I'm ignoring him. Dad tried to reach me through mom but she put her foot down and said no. My dad leaves voice messages crying and saying he needs me and he misses me and he doesn't want to lose me and his heart is breaking for Shane and the loss they're about to suffer and he never needed me as much. I don't feel bad. I still hate my dad for the choices he made and I'm not going to miss Shane or pretend like I care. He would still be bullying kids right now if he wasn't sick. He was doing it up until he left school for his treatment. And I don't think I want a relationship with my dad ever again. He chose Shane. He didn't give a fuck about anything else. By choosing a good thing with his wife he chose Shane and not me and he chose a monster. Aita for ignoring my dad right now. And just so everyone knows where I'm at. When Shane dies I won't go to my dad's house to support him or show up at the funeral. I won't be part of any tribute for Shane or anything. That's how strongly I feel about this. But maybe that makes me an AH. Stories number 21. I found the grade school teacher that made a positive impact on me on social media and he hit on me right away. There was this teacher in grade school that really helped me in terms of my confidence and social abilities. Over the years I have had memories jumping around in my head and wondered where he was in life now. I remember the photos of his kids on his desk and the stories he'd tell us about traveling around the world with his wife. Lately I've gotten this strong sense to find him and share my thoughts and appreciation for him as an educator. I could only remember his last name but managed to find him pretty quickly on Facebook. I seen his beautiful wife and grown-up kids and I could see he was still traveling. It was a great feeling to get the chance to connect. So I click add friend and think it's harmless. I mean, I'm a 30-year-old woman now. This shouldn't come off as flirting when the guy is so much older and still a teacher. Surely he has had students connect with him before, right? I didn't think anything of it. I just figured if he accepted the friend request I would shoot him a quick message and thank him. Well, around 12 a.m. last night I get a notification that he accepted my friend request and has sent me a message. I open it up and it's a short paragraph about how beautiful and sensual I am and how he wishes to caress my soft skin. I have never blocked someone so fast. I'll be appreciating my past educator's impact on me from a mental standpoint from now on. Edit to clear some things up. I don't think he recognized me at all. I do not get the sense that this was some sort of weird thing. I'm sorry if anyone reading it felt that way. I'm a grown woman, it wouldn't be crazy for another adult to hit on me. I am not single though and either is he. This isn't an opportunity for a relationship. I don't feel traumatized by this exactly. It's more just one of those situations where you have this great thing in your mind and then you are faced with the complete opposite. I laughed pretty hard at his message when I seen it. I still appreciate how wonderful of a teacher he was. His wife isn't present on Facebook in terms of having a profile. I blocked him and will not be re-engaging. Stories number 22. Aita for sending my little sister a vet bill after she tried to get my horses to breed. I, 33F, am a horse breeder and own 10 horses. I have a little sister, 19F, who was a surprise baby for my parents. They didn't think they could have more after me, so she is quite babied even now. They begged me to take her on to help her get some work and I agreed but made it clear she'd have to work hard and there would be no slacking. She has generally been fine with it and enjoys being around the horses, though I do have to light a fire under her arse at times to get her to keep working. The problem however arose when a local animal rescue asked me to help them. They had a stallion surrendered to them and they didn't have the capabilities to take care of him. I had room, so agreed to take him. I've also arranged a full genetic testing on him to ensure he's alright, as it seems like he was gotten through backyard breeders. I've also made an appointment to have him gelded, as I don't know enough about him to risk him not being gelded. He has his own paddock and is kept in a separate stable than my own horses just to be safe. I'm slowly socializing him, but I'm taking no risks. I've been letting my sister sit in on my breeding planning for 2025, and my main stars are going to be Dante and Willow. They've had 4 successful and healthy foals who are going to go into dressage. I know they work well together, and Willow has had a 2-year break, so she'll be ready to go again this year. The first warning bell I overlooked was that my sister asked about the new stallion and when I'd be breeding him. I explained he'd not be bred as there was too many unknowns. I don't know his health and I don't have a good enough grasp of his temperament. She protested that he was pretty though, prettier than Dante, and I explained there was more to this than looks. I thought she'd understood and didn't think further on this. Yesterday an emergency came up and I had to leave my sister alone for an hour. I told her she could take an hour break. When I came back I found to my horror she'd put Willow into the paddock with the new stallion. I asked her what the fuck she was doing and she told me she just thought they'd work well together and she was doing me a favor. I got Willow out of there, but not before the new stallion bucked and reared quite a bit from stress. I got Willow out of there, then set about calming him down. I told my sister to get home and not come back, shouting at her quite a bit. I then had a vet come out and check them both fully to ensure they'd not hurt each other. My one relief is Willow isn't in estrus yet. I had the bill sent to my sister at my parents' house. They called me today in a panic asking what the hell this was. When I explained, they told me I was being unfair and she didn't understand, that she couldn't pay this and was being cruel, and my sister was crying. I told them she did understand, she just didn't care, that she could pay or they could pay, but I wasn't. They are freaking out over how they'll afford this. Am I taking it too far? Stories number 23. Dating as a liberal woman in a red state is weird. This has probably been talked about a lot, but I had never really experienced it myself until now. I had 2 different odd conversations with 2 guys I had matched with on Hinge. One of them didn't go on for very long. He liked me and I'm heavily into politics, so when I see someone without a political affiliation on dating apps I usually swipe left, but he had matched with me and I was feeling confrontational, so I messaged him and asked why he didn't have a political affiliation on his profile. I was honestly expecting him to just unmatch with me, but he went on this long rant about how, I believe like our parents and grandparents before us, that people aren't inherently incompatible just because their political opinions differ. And that, it's childish and unnecessary to not even consider a relationship with someone just because they have differing opinions. Which woof is that a conservative dog whistle if I have ever heard one. So I then went on to ask if he understood that our parents and grandparents lived in a very different political time frame than us, and if he would see it as a problem if his significant other was outspoken about their political ideology. I guess that was the nail in the coffin for him, because he then unmatched me, lol. The next one was a little longer. I had been texting with him for a couple days and he asked if I wanted to FaceTime him, and so I figured why not. He seemed nice enough and we had been getting along. During the FaceTime call, I brought up the fact that the Walmart near where I live is well known to be like an awful Walmart and was complaining about having to grocery shop there since it was the most convenient and cheapest place by me. He then went on this rant about how, if you go 30 minutes south into the suburbs, the Walmart is so much better and nothing is locked up and that's where all the white people are, and I was like genuinely taken off guard. How is it so normal for someone to say some racist shit in the first actual conversation you have with someone? I ended up hanging up on him and told him that he should probably reconsider being outwardly racist in the first phone call he has with a woman. It's so weird to me that these men will hide behind a, not political, affiliation or not even have anything on their profile about their political views, especially in the world we live in now. Be upfront about your views. All it does is lead to weird interactions like this, if you're concerned that women won't date you because of your political views. Maybe you should reconsider those views. I don't know, I just needed to rant because it's just so mind-blowing to me that people act like this. ETA, I've seen the comments about me telling the second guy to reconsider being racist in the first phone call, and I do regret not saying reconsider being racist in general. I was just taken off guard by how he went from seeming like a normal guy to being racist in the first actual conversation I had with him. He unlikely will take any of it into consideration anyway. I also didn't just block him because he had a speech disability, and I didn't want him to think I was uninterested because of his disability. I wanted him to know I wasn't putting up with racist shit. Stories number 24. I am exploiting my employer and I have never been happier. It was a coincidence really. I was sent into home office for the first time during the pandemic and our company got reorganized at the same time. Departments and tasks were mashed together and swapped around. My old boss left shortly after and my new boss has no knowledge on my field and is too busy to care. They never asked me to come back to office, so I am still at 100% home office. The list of things I am now responsible for is pretty long and sounds important and time-consuming. Since I am the only one doing these tasks, nobody else in the company knows how to do them or how long it takes. I do stretch the workload to appear busy. I do all tasks right away when they come up but only publish them a lot later, so whenever somebody asks what I am doing at the moment, I have something to show. It helps a lot. It's mostly creative work, so it's hard to measure, and saying, "I was thinking about how to handle that project," is an absolutely fine answer to how I spend the last week to my superiors. I somehow get praised for my good and hard work by my boss and coworkers regularly, lol. Now I work 1 to 2 hours a day instead of 8. I use that extra time mostly for chores, sports and gaming. I have never been happier or more relaxed in my life. Stories number 25. I need advice from men. So, I, 25F, am married to my husband, 25M, and we've been together for 5 years now. A few months ago, I was fired from my job, spent some time at home, and this year I started a new job, in a higher position. My new job requires a lot more from me, arriving early in the morning and leaving after sunset, Saturdays till 4 p.m. Every day I get home exhausted, like barely functional, and he always want to have intimate time. Don't get me wrong, we do every weekend, but we agree during the week, I get too tired for it. He also works from home, but he leaves work at 2 p.m., go to the gym and make us dinner. The thing is, it's been a couple of weeks since he started to ask for intimate time every day. Sometimes I say yes by message, but till I arrive home, a lot had happened, and I'm exhausted again. He asked me again today and I said no, and when I say no, he gets upset and give me the silent treatment. After some time, he tries to apologize, but it's been happening for some time now. I asked today why he was upset, and he said he feels rejected, undesirable. I reassure him it was not that, I'm just tired. So, what should I do? Stories number 26. AIO for reporting a coworker assaulting me at work to HR. So today, I walked into an office to ask if coworkers wanted something to eat, since I was grabbing lunch myself. A coworker immediately got upset that I was in there and I took it as playful banter. He got up angry, cussed me out, shoved me hard in the chest and slammed the door in my face. Another coworker gaslit me into blaming me for the assault, so I went right to HR to report the incident since he did hurt my chest. My department boss called me and proceeded to gaslight me just as my coworker did by saying, "We are a close-knit group, I started a few months ago while they've been there for years, couldn't this have been talked out? Why would you go right to HR?" But the fact is I've had problems with this guy before and this was the final straw. He ended the call saying, "Well, this isn't good. Did I overreact? Everyone seems to put the blame on me around me, but don't you cross a line when a physical altercation is crossed?" Stories number 27. Aita for calling the police when my neighbor stole my air conditioner. I, 28F, had my air conditioner stolen by my neighbor, 23F, out of our shared basement. For backstory, we live in a very old house with 3 apartments inside. A guy named W lives on the first floor, I live on the second floor, and V lives on the top floor. We all share the basement where laundry is and we all store stuff there. For example, W keeps his drum set in the basement and V keeps boxes of winter clothes down there. I am only mentioned race because it is important for context, but W and myself are white and V is black. Spring has brought warmer weather, so I wanted to go to the basement to get my air conditioner since the building is so old we have to use window units. I went down there and it was literally nowhere to be found. I text the group chat we have and asked if anyone had accidentally taken it. V responds and says she took it. No problem at all, I ask for her to bring it down or I can go up and get it. She then tells me that she will not be returning the air conditioner because she found it and it's hers now. I told her that would be lie, me taking W's drum set from the basement and saying I found it so it's mine. Also the air conditioner had my name on it. She then tells me that she will not be uninstalling it and I should buy a new one. I figured maybe she didn't have the tools to remove it, so I said she could keep it if she Venmo'd me for a new one, and I sent her the link to the exact unit as the one in her window, the exact price I spent on mine. She then offered me $100, the unit was $179, and said that's the best she could do. I informed her that it was not good enough and if she didn't have the money I totally understand, but I want my air conditioner back since I had paid for it. She refused over and over again. I tried to reason with her for 2 days and finally I was fed up and said if she did not return it I would file a police report. She freaked out. She told me that doing that was putting her life at risk for an air conditioner and I was a racist. She said she was putting deadbolts on her door, blocking my number, and then Venmo'd me the $179 for the new unit. I would like to note that I was keeping it very calm and did not threaten her in any way other than to file a police report to get my property back. I truly am stunned because I feel like I did nothing wrong for wanting my air conditioner back, but also she got really upset, so maybe I did. I didn't know what else to do other than file a report. I know it was only an air conditioner, but things are expensive right now. So Aita for saying I was going to call the police to get my air conditioner back. Stories number 28. The male loneliness epidemic is a self-pitying problem and there's an easy solution. I'm a man in my early 30s. I don't have anything particularly special going for me, no insane social skills, no high-status career, no crazy hobbies that make me a magnet for conversation. The only thing I can say I do differently than a lot of lonely men is engage with people out of curiosity rather than desire. The issue with male loneliness isn't some massive cultural shift that has made people averse to men in public. It's not that society has abandoned men, it's that many men have abandoned society by narrowing their social focus to only one goal, romantic validation. I see this all the time. Guys claim that no one wants to talk to them, but what they really mean is, attractive women aren't engaging with me. These same men often ignore entire categories of social opportunities, talking to older people, engaging with other men platonically, striking up casual conversations with strangers just to connect. If the only people you try to talk to are women you find attractive, of course you're going to feel isolated. That's not loneliness, that's self-inflicted social starvation. Men who constantly claim that no one wants to talk to them, ask yourself, when was the last time you made conversation with someone without an ulterior motive? Do you engage with people who don't directly serve your personal interests? Have you made any effort to contribute to a community rather than expecting one to embrace you? The men who actually go out into the world with an open mind and a willingness to engage, rather than just seeking validation, don't seem to be the ones complaining about loneliness. If your entire social strategy revolves around being wanted rather than wanting to engage with the world, you'll always feel lonely. And that's not a societal problem. That's a you problem. If you are lonely, truly lonely, not just horny and starved for romantic affection, go outside and talk to people. It's really that simple. Stories number 29. I just learned that my ex-wife slept with someone, the first I know of after the divorce, and it's someone I can't stand, can't stop thinking about it. My divorce became official in October. It wasn't something I wanted and was due in part to my wife emotionally cheating and lying about her feelings for me. I miss her a lot and also am struggling with my self-confidence and am so far from trying to put myself back out there, mainly because of the baggage from all this. My ex on the other hand, had obviously had something like this in mind for a while. I was sitting home Sunday with my daughter and got a message from the wife of a friend of hers that I had gotten to know, letting me know that they had slept together. Apparently they are also going through a divorce, and although it's not finalized, they currently still live there with their 4 kids. I've known this guy our entire relationship pretty much, and it's clear he was really into her, even at one point begging her to leave me for him, which she told me about. She cut off contact at that time, but he came back into the picture somewhat when he met his wife. We would see each other now and again and things were cordial enough, but since then, I've not cared for the guy for a myriad of reasons. I knew this part was coming, but to have it shoved in my face like this has me reeling. It turns out it happened when his wife was out, but their 4 kids were there, and it went down in the kitchen, which I just find so gross, and I'm disgusted with her, even after all this. I found out from his ex that he cheated on her a bunch and actually had another kid out of wedlock, real scumbag stuff. We used to sit and laugh at this man's pretentious social media posts and shit, and to know now what went down, I'm spiraling with so much shit, anger, jealousy, disgust, sadness. She's free to do what she wants, but it all hurts so much, especially cause I am craving some form of intimacy so much right now because the last year of my life has been hell. I wish I didn't have to see her anymore, but we have a 6-year-old daughter, so I know this is the first of possibly many times this will happen, and I am just dreading it. Edit. Thank you to everyone who took the time to respond. I read everyone and it truly has helped. I already knew a lot of what was said, but to see it so overwhelmingly echoed really hits home for me. I know I need to focus on myself and stop letting her dictate how I feel, because she has proven time and time again to not be worth it. To those who said we are divorced and she can do what she wants, I know and agree with this and said it in my original post. That's not the issue, it's the execution of how I don't let it get to me. I know the answer is time, so I'm just going to buckle in and fight it out. To those who told me to just go have sex with someone, I would if I could, but I am so broken by all this, the prospects seem dim. I have negative confidence right now, and it's going to take some time to get that back. All in all, I just discovered this sub today and am grateful for everyone reinforcing what I already knew. Stories number 30. My son attends an extremely religious college. He asked me if I, as an atheist, would mind answering some questions about religion for a class he is taking. Here are my answers. 1. Do you have a background in religion? If so, what is it? My childhood was Christian-based. That is to say, my broader family was Christian. My mother married into the Catholic religion, Roman Catholic, when I was about 5 years old. I was exposed to the concept of religion as a small child, and my exposure after that was intermittent but fairly regular. I am no stranger to religion. I explored theism as a concept when I was in high school. I attended a local Christian church for several years. I enjoyed the company of my pastor and I made a few friends. Almost all of them were good people and were not overly judgmental. I enjoyed the time, but those experiences never changed my feeling that there is no God and that the concepts taught at my church could be better learned elsewhere. Religion has remained a curiosity to me throughout my life. I have studied the elements of the Abrahamic religions and I have explored ideologies like Buddhism and existentialism. Almost all of them get too close to spirituality, the required acceptance of empty ideas, for me to have any desire to participate actively. My mind remains open, but it may be putting it lightly to say that I am a skeptic. 2. Was there ever a time you believed in God? If so, why did you think it changed? I have never been convinced that there is or ever was any kind of deity. Not even in my early childhood. I believe in things that are true and I see no reason to think that religion of any kind contains historic mystical truth. The scientific method is the best way to answer any kind of question. Applying verifiable data, researching the topic, testing with rigorous experimentation, peer review, and iteration is the best way to draw a reasonable conclusion. I love the fact that, even if a claim is not verified during a scientific process, something was still learned. There is no failure in science, just unexpected learning. Religion is the opposite of the aforementioned process. Where science is progressive, religion is regressive. Popular religious teachings are dogmatic, they will have a curious mind accept a concept unconditionally because that is how it was written, rather than allowing the idea to be explored and improved upon. 3. How important is spirituality to your life now? Has this changed over time? If so, why? The term spirituality encompasses more than a belief in a God. It also encompasses any supernatural element, regardless of whether or not it is related to any kind of theology. That being said, I am not spiritual and I never have been. Not even a little bit. 4. In terms of religion, who has had the biggest influence on your life? My son is the very best example of what religion can be. My mother is a close second. These are people that, in my opinion, would be good people with or without religion. The fact that they believe in a deity may be something I do not agree with, but it does not diminish my love for them. That love was earned through actions and expression, two things that you don't need religion to uncover. But not all influences have been positive. I have encountered too many people who bastardize the concept of religion and use it as a means to enrich their own lives or to subjugate others. The contradictory teachings and backwards principles in the Bible only serve to make this problem worse. Following any teaching blindly, religious or otherwise, leads to bad results. This has been proven over and over again throughout history. Religion has done far more harm to humanity, and nature, than any good it may have done throughout the ages. As a concept, it is a net negative. 5. Who do you think Jesus was, and why? There is no definite proof that Jesus, in the biblical sense, ever existed. The Bible stories were written, at best, a full 30 years after Jesus' supposed death, and then translated and retranslated too many times to count. They are just a husk of their original Hebrew source. The Septuagint and its retranslations, which vary wildly, are so filled with basic mistakes of geography, mistakes of law, and contradictions that they do not lend to any serious discussion. Is the concept of Jesus important? Perhaps in a philosophical sense. As an example, a key foundation of modern morals is the Sermon on the Mount, I think mostly because, as noted in the Beatitudes, it addresses the idea that a humble nature will allow a person to achieve more than any degree of pride, riches, or ego. 6. Are there any features of the world that give you pause and make you think there might be a God? No. None. I can easily see how dark times, which many say we are experiencing right now, might cause a person to turn to forces that they hope will protect them in some way. Oh, if only wanting it badly enough could make it so. I have personally always felt that reliance on my family and community, and the natural world, are more than enough to help me through times of need. In turn, I feel a tremendous responsibility to give back and support those whom I am close to during their hard times. 7. Are there any things that attract you to religion in general or Christianity in particular? And are there any things that turn you away? I am not attracted to religion in any way, organized or not. The concept of a deity, while I can see how it served a purpose at a time when there were no other mechanisms to help organize, i.e. control, societies, is no longer necessary. In our current age of enlightenment, scientific discovery and desire to rule through representation and democratic principles, the idea of organized religion serves more as a tool for the powerful to control the gullible. We are seeing it happen at the highest levels of our government as I write this. It is abhorrent. 8. What experiences have most shaped your spiritual life? I explored Christianity when I was younger. I also studied various Abrahamic concepts throughout my life. I have always striven to allow those around me who are religious to feel comfortable in my presence, and I have succeeded sometimes, not always. I have been rejected from social groups because of my atheism. When it first happened, I was not hurt, but I was confused. I did not, and I still do not, understand why a person would reject an offer of friendship and brotherhood over the idea of a fictional being that does not offer tangible support of any kind. 9. If you were to break down the key reasons you don't believe into intellectual, emotional, personal or other factors, how would you rate them? Intellectual, the human race evolved without a god. The concept of a deity is a construct that likely served a purpose in the past, but only serves to harm society in our modern age. It was never real and, while I am happy to admit that I could be wrong about the concept of a creator, I cannot in good conscience promote or endorse such an ideology. Emotional, while my love for those who are close to me comes first, and while I will always be available to those who need me regardless of their affiliation with religion, I must admit that I feel a bit of sadness for people who choose to make religious dogma the guiding principle in their life. Personal, I have never felt as if I have any emptiness in my life. That idea is often expressed in religious circles: Jesus filled the hole in my heart, or the void in my soul is filled with hope every Sunday. I am a very introspective person. I like to think that I am in touch with my emotions. I think that I am willing to be convinced by others if their position is convincing. I have never seen any indication, no matter how small, that leads to the concept of a creator. I have definitely never seen any evidence that said creator has plans or wants the human race to act a certain way. 10. What might convince you to believe in God? I cannot think of a single experience, concept, person, or thing that could convince me to believe in the supernatural. I cannot imagine a kind of evidence exists that is capable of that. My ultimate desire is to believe what is true. To that end, I am open to any idea as long as it carries with it appropriate evidence. Stories number 31. Figuratively emasculating the neighborhood bully once by me, and again by my sister. My sister and I both got back at our neighborhood bully, with the same story, about 10 years apart. When I was about 6, I proudly built a snowman all by myself. Clarence, the neighborhood bully, aged 10 to 11-ish, knocked it down and thought he was very cool for doing so. I went ballistic, whirling dervish, and kicked and clawed and had to be pulled off of him. He went home crying, and avoided my brother, sister, and me after that. Fast forward 10 years. My sister and her friends are on a bus to a ballgame downtown, and he gets on the same bus with his friends. He's all muscles and struts, and some of the girls kinda stop and stare. My sister says, "Oh, hi, Clarence," rather offhand, indifferently. One of her friends says, "You know him." She says, straight-faced, stage-voiced, "Oh, yeah, my little sister beat him up once." I love my sister. Stories number 32. Aita for refusing to give my pregnant ex-fiancée money after she left me for another man. 3 years ago, my ex-fiancée, 31F, left me, 33M, for another man just a few months before our wedding. We had been together for 5 years and I was completely blindsided. She moved in with him almost immediately, and they cut contact with me unless it was about splitting up our shared finances and apartment. I was devastated, but I feel like I have finally moved on. Now, out of nowhere, she reached out. Turns out, the guy she left me for dumped her after finding out she got pregnant. She's struggling financially and has asked if I could help her out. Specifically, she wants money to cover rent. She says she has nowhere else to turn and that she wouldn't ask if she wasn't desperate. I have the money. I'm in a much better place financially and emotionally than I was back then. I put all my energy into improving myself after what happened. But I don't see why I should give her anything. Some friends are saying I'm being selfish, but I don't see why her choices should be my problem now. Still, part of me does feel guilty. 5 years is a long time, and I did love her. So, Aita for refusing to help her. ETA, giving her the money wouldn't be a financial issue for me. I could lose that amount and not even notice. My friends know this, which is why they think I'm being selfish for not helping. Stories number 33. Being ugly ruins your life much more than attractive people like to admit. I'm healthy, fit, educated and according to others smart and likable. I have friends, a good job and am a hard-working guy. I have an easy time meeting new people, and of course I also cover the basics like hygiene and grooming, but I'm also bald and short and have a below average face, so none of this actually matters. Zero romantic interest from women of course, and people who don't know me and my personality always treat me like sh%t. My life only consists of earning money, my hobbies, and my pets. Being ugly makes you incredibly lonely. You never get to share your successes with anyone, nobody is happy with or for you. When I got my master's degree as a guy from a poor family with no academic background and no support in that regard, I had nobody to really share that with. It was just another day. Just like every birthday I had in almost 2 decades. Work, go home, shut up. Meanwhile everybody around me gets love and appreciation for everything they do. Or they don't even have to do anything, because so many days of the year just celebrate their existence. Valentine's Day, birthdays, Christmas. Just because they look good enough to be attractive. Not that I don't want them to have this. I'm happy for them, but it inevitably reminds you that you're not worth enough in the eyes of others, just because you were born with certain physical traits. Stories number 34. Aita for refusing to met the biological child I do not claim. When I, 28M, was 16 I was groomed later SA'd, by today's standards, by my manger 23F at the time. She had gotten pregnant. Now that child has reached out to me. It has gotten to the point that they are stalking me online. The mother contacted my girlfriend who is rightfully upset. It feels like they took away our safety. I have become paranoid in public. Everyone that I talk to about this, including my boss since he noticed my work has been slacking, has told me that I owe this child a meeting. That every child has the right to know who their parents are. I disagree. I wanted nothing to do with that child when I was 16 and still do not want to be involved. My girlfriend thinks if I met him all this would be over. I think they will want more from me. I feel like this makes me an AH since I also never financially provided and most likely won't. I want this to stop. Stories number 35. Aita for telling my sister-in-law to get out of my daughter's baby shower. I, 47F, have a daughter, 25. She is currently 26 weeks pregnant with her second child, a girl. Her first child, Philip, was stillborn 2 years ago at 38 weeks, a little boy. When she lost him, she asked us to take apart the nursery before she got home and get rid of the baby equipment. She saved his baby book, his ultrasound photos, and the outfit she planned to bring him home in, along with a lock of his hair in a memory box. She'd had a baby shower for Philip when she was pregnant, but her grief around his death was so strong that she couldn't handle having the nursery and baby things. We offered to return the baby shower gifts to the givers, most kindly refused and asked us to donate the items, except my husband's sister, Rachel, 43. She made a huge deal out of my daughter being hysterical and constantly, loudly talked about how ridiculous it was to take apart the nursery. We kept her away from my daughter and only allowed her to return to family functions when she promised to stop bringing it up. We recently held a baby shower for my daughter's new baby girl. Rachel, along with the rest of my husband's female relatives, was invited. She kept making quiet remarks to everyone that we were tacky for having a baby shower for a second child, but since she didn't get near my daughter, I ignored it. When my daughter began opening gifts, it hit the fan. She loudly said, if you hadn't torn Philip's nursery apart and gotten rid of everything, you wouldn't be here begging for presents for this baby. My daughter froze and just stared off into space. Tears started running down her face. I just said, Rachel, please leave. She refused and started arguing with me. I took her present out of the pile, walked to the door, and threw it out. I yelled, get out, now, and my husband came into the room and asked what happened. His mom told him and he physically picked up his sister and put her down outside the door. Now the family is divided over whether I should have yelled at her to get out and thrown her present. Aita. Update. We are having a family meeting, without Rachel, while my daughters and their partners are away at Hot Springs this weekend. We'll update again after the meeting. Stories number 36. My brother touched me and I can't look at him the same. I, 16F, have a brother, 18M. This happened when I was around 12 to 13 and we were spending the weekend at a mountain cabin with my family. Me and him had to share a bed, it was late at night and we were alone in the room. There was no internet in the house so I wanted to sleep since I had nothing else to do. My brother wanted to talk since he wasn't tired, but I told him no multiple times and just ignored him. He started to poke me to try and piss me off but I stayed asleep until he started to move his hands all around my stomach. Before I could react he touched my private part under my pants, and I just froze. He touched my chest too and that's when I sat up and yelled, what are you doing? He got pissed at me and said, well you were ignoring me. I got so damn anxious and I didn't know what to do. I was mad and just said I was going to brush my teeth and went outside the room. He followed me and I locked myself in the bathroom and just stared at my reflection for a couple of minutes trying to make sense of what just happened. When I finally went out he was laying on the bed with his phone and I just got into the sheets and turned towards the wall. None said a word and I just tried to fall asleep. To be honest, I don't remember anything else from that trip. It's like my mind blocked that memory for like 2 years and it just came back. I've been thinking about it non-stop for months now and I feel pure disgust and anger towards him. I feel so dirty whenever I think he's looking at me and I just try to avoid being near him. He is just a horrible person and this just adds up to all the resentment I have towards him. I actually feel nauseous when he talks to me. To this day no one knows and I have not said a word anywhere until now. I just want to tell someone. Stories number 37. My partner's ex is causing so much drama. My boyfriend, M, 39, and I, F, 26, have been dating for 5 years. He has a 7-year-old daughter. My friend is getting married in Italy this June, and we're invited. It's a child-free wedding. I've been saving up and counting down the days for this trip, but last night, he told me his ex suddenly changed her mind and won't switch custody weeks with him, meaning he'll have his daughter during the wedding. I asked why, and he said she just changed her mind. Then she suggested that we pay for her and their daughter's tickets and accommodations so she can come along and watch their daughter while we enjoy the wedding. I was upset. That makes no sense. Just switch the weeks and it's all good. I don't want his ex to go on a vacation with us. My boyfriend's solution? Skip the wedding. I told him no. First, the RSVP date has already passed. Second, I really want to go to this wedding and visit Italy. So, I'm going. He says it makes him uncomfortable if I go alone because it looks bad for me to show up solo. I told him if it bothers him that much, then maybe he should figure something out with his ex so he can come too. He says he's tried everything, but she won't budge, and he doesn't want to feel like he's abandoning his kid. I'm frustrated. What should I do at this point? Stories number 38. Sister said suicide was selfish so I had to give her a little reminder. So my, M17 at the time, half-sister, 28, and I were sitting outside talking about random stuff and we saw on Facebook about a local principal committed suicide. We talked about how sad it was and then she went on a rant about how it was so selfish of him to leave all his students like that and just went on a rant about how selfish it was to commit suicide. I tried to explain to her how it's not selfish and what people go through to think about doing that. It didn't change her opinion and so I reminded her that my dad, we share a mom not dad, committed suicide. She immediately stopped talking and had a deer in headlights look. She kept apologizing and trying to explain but I just walked away. Stories number 39. Whipta if I told my sister's boyfriend of her cheating. I 19F have a sister 25F with a long-term boyfriend of 4 years. They were college sweethearts. She suspects he will be proposing soon based on how he acts. I don't know what she means, but that's what she thinks. 1 year ago, she ended relationship with a coworker once he got transferred. They talked a little longer after that, but it faded after a few months. I told her I thought it was good her and her long-term worked through the affair, and then she told me she never told him. I told her that I don't think it's right she wants to marry him and never told him. She started to get mad and said it's no big deal and it's in the past. That's when I told her I will tell her boyfriend if she won't. She really blew up at me. She went off saying that I'm trying to ruin her relationship over some guy across the country. Then I told you only ended things because he moved. It's been a week since, and we've talked very little. Last week we meet again at a family thing, and her BF was there. I told her again that she needs to tell him or I will in a week. She told me that I was jealous and hated her. She said, you must be doing this because you want to hook up with him. I'm asexual. Anyways, I told my mom and dad and my mom said it's up to my sister to tell him and that I shouldn't interfere. She thinks my sister's actions are wrong, but if she keeps it any longer, the universe will work itself out. My dad doesn't know how to feel and wants to speak with my sister. Would I be the AH if I told my sister's boyfriend of her past? Edit to add explanation. Wow, thanks for all the comments. I'm getting the question why I'm thinking of doing this, and that's fair. Besides the fact I believe cheating is wrong and he has the right to know, there is a history of cheating in our family that my sister knows very well and super messy. Not direct family to be clear, mom and dad are happy, but with one aunt, mom's side, and one uncle, dad's side. For my aunt she cheated during the marriage, got divorced, ex-husband took the kids permanently somehow, I think because financials, and I never saw my cousins again. For my uncle, he cheated before marriage and my ex-aunt got really upset when she found out when he drunkenly told her. She divorced him and got most of the assets. I don't know all the messy details, I was younger, but my sister was always in tune with everything happening somehow. She's kind of nosy NGL, but that's not important here. Also, she has a very nonchalant idea of cheating. I don't remember her exact words, but she has joked to me she could kiss in another man and her BF is so chill he wouldn't care and they love each other too much. She also leaves heart eyes on other men's Instagram, public, post. I talked to her about this 2 months ago, but she says they're just friends and she does it with friends who are girls as well, but it feels odd. From what I've seen, that's a lie. For her friends who are girls it will be the cute 2-heart sparkling heart growing heart, but for boys it's smiling face with heart eyes, smiling face with heart eyes, and I've even seen hot face on one guy. Her BF doesn't have Instagram. Last thing, I don't think she would have ended the affair with the other guy if he hadn't moved. Obviously I can't confirm that because I'm not her, but with what I said above I'm not sure. I don't have proof of her cheating from a year ago, but I can just pull up those friends' post. I'm kind of just spilling my thought here incoherently. Sorry if some things are still unclear. So yeah, that's the reason. Maybe I'll have an update someday, but RN I'm still conflicted, but thanks for the perspectives. Update 1. I didn't think I'd be updating so soon, but here we are. I haven't done anything yet, but I've read most if not all the comments. There are 3 clear camps it seems. 1. Tell him. 2. Be loyal to my sister, and 3. Mind my own business. I'm still uncertain what I'm going to do exactly, but I'm making a new 2-part plan. Part 1. Someone here suggested I speak with both my parents and sister about it together, and I'm going to do that. I want to tell him. If she genuinely thinks he will propose, he deserves to know, but I think she should get the chance to come clean. Also, to be completely clear, they are not engaged. She thinks he is. I think part of the reason she thinks so is because our families have been getting closer lately. We spent Christmas Eve together. This is where part 2 comes in. I am Instagram friends with the BF's sister. We send each memes and stuff. We don't talk too much, but she's nice. I am going to send her the public Instagram post my sister has commented on. I'm not doing this through her to avoid being the direct cause. I'm fine if she tells him and will be open if he wants to ask me more questions, but it should come from someone he really trusts and can talk to for further advice. I'm also getting a lot of comments telling me this is a lose-lose situation. I really hate it, but I also hate lying, which my sister seems to have no problem doing. To those saying I should be more loyal to her and family is forever, these are her actions. Cheating and secrecy should not be normalized. It would be a different situation if I am reporting speculation, but it is not. I really don't want to dive into more personal family things. I'll update again if I have news. Thanks for the advice. Update 2, oh my gosh. Take a seat, this will be a long one. Let's tell this story in order. Monday night I have a sit down with sister. I talk to her again, telling her if she wants to marry BF he deserves to know of the past so they can move on and it won't hurt them in the future. She just kept rolling her eyes and seemed so uninterested. I told her, how would you feel if he did that to you? She said, it's different. It's in the past. Or something along those lines. I tried to explain to her that it's not different and asked why she thinks it is. I wish I had a pen and paper writing what she said. She said something like, it's different because I love him and if he cheats on me he doesn't love me, and I can love multiple people, it doesn't mean that I don't love him, and I'm with only him right now, which is all that matters. Those statements seem so contradictory. So she can cheat in the past because she loves him but he can't. I was truly baffled. I wish I had a recording device because I still can't decipher her point. I ask her to clarify, but she just says again that it's different and that I hate her happiness. I try to tell her it's not fair to him and it will hurt both of them in the future if when he finds out, because this stuff always comes out. She tried to play it off like, oh he won't care, then we went back and forth, me, if he doesn't care why can't I tell him? Her, because it's in the past, me, you say the past doesn't matter so shouldn't it not matter to him? Her, you hate me. And repeat. I then brought up the Instagram comments. She got super defensive about that. Before she didn't care and was just rude. Now she is back to the, you just like him, you hate me, you're jealous, sort of thing with no explanation for her behavior. I might edit or answer questions later to clarify, but right now I just need to get my thoughts out. She said those people are just friends and I'm blowing things up. I tell her, okay, let him see the comments. Again, you hate me, you're jealous, repeat. It was a very unproductive conversation. My parents came in a few times, mainly at the start. My dad said a few words like, trust is the important foundation of any long-lasting relationship. My mom said, sister's name, you and boyfriend's name, will be okay. They didn't have much to add tbh. I think they already had a talk with my sister Sunday night, but I don't know for sure. Tuesday rolls around. I decide to send the Instagram post with the comments to BF's sister. At the bottom of the post I will clarify things like why I involved her. She didn't seem shocked. It was over messages, but she just said, "Wow, thank you for sending this," and then I sent a brief text saying, "If he has any more questions I can answer with what I know, but I don't know if he is aware of this, the comments, or if he's comfortable with it." I got left on read. That's where things left until today, Wednesday. BF's sister texts me, so I don't have to keep calling her BF's sister, I'll call her Nsil, not sister-in-law. Nsil texts me saying what happened. As I said, BF doesn't have Instagram. Nsil showed BF the comments maybe an hour after I sent her the post. BF had no idea about the comments, and when he looked at the post he had never met these friends. She put thirst emojis under. Nsil did something I didn't think to do, she looked at sister's tagged post. She found more of those thirst comments and more. On nights she had to cancel with BF because she was busy at work, she was tagged in party photos. Nsil and BF had kind of mapped out the lies. I don't have all the details because I wasn't directly involved. For like an hour they compared it. Today, sister went to go see BF at his family's house. I point this out to say Nsil was there and describing all that had happened during this part. BF asked sister to see her Instagram. She looked a little shocked and reluctantly scrolled her feed. Nothing off her, but then he asked if it's okay to see her text. She shut it down immediately. According to Nsil, the back and forth was something like this: "Sister, why don't you trust me?" "BF, why can't I see it?" "Sister, why don't you trust me?" "BF, I know you lied about work." "Sister, it's not a big deal, I just wanted to be with my friends." "BF, why didn't you tell me?" "Sister, it's not a big deal, why do you care so much? Why are you so controlling?" "BF, if it isn't a big deal, why can't I see the text?" "Sister, because it shows you don't trust me, you don't love me, why don't you trust me?" and repeat. I'm not going to copy and paste all of Nsil's text because it's a bit of personal information, but eventually my sister handed over the phone. Oh my gosh. She is still texting the coworker. Okay, maybe it's a different coworker. Nsil doesn't know that story, but the description and looks as described in words are the same. There are text with implied explicit images, photos on Instagram disappear, but the words and emojis imply it was explicit. I don't know what to say. Nsil said he said they are on a break. I texted Nsil explaining what I knew about the past coworker and that I wanted to give sister a chance to come clean. Nsil said she isn't shocked, Nsil had her own theories, I guess. Nsil said she is going to focus on being her for her brother. That brings us to 3 hours ago. Sister came and was furious at me. I didn't know yet what had happened, so when she was yelling at me I thought to myself, is this about the Instagram comments? She said again that, I hate her, I'm jealous, repeat. I told her I'm sorry this blew up, but it's her actions. She just stormed upstairs and we haven't talked since. My mom and dad talked to her, at first they had sympathy but she refused to take any responsibility for her actions. When I got the messages from Nsil I was shocked. I didn't know she was still cheating. I'm still in shock. I thought I'd update because the comments keep rolling in. I know there will be consequences within the family, and I will try to navigate any that come up as best I can. For this last section I want to address the comments. The comments seem almost 100% split. 1 minute I get Gita, the next minute it's, tell him. I made this post with the intention to get advice and perspective. Obviously, I know a lot of you think it's not my place. I can respect that, however, all this speculation on my relationship with my sister and my relationship with her BF was out of hand. I made the, I'm asexual, comment because I thought her accusation was funny. She said a lot worse stuff I didn't include. One comment said, mind your sexual business, please read what asexuality is. For side do not, your comments were very aggressive. Special shout out to the lady who told me to get hit by a bus. I understand your points on loyalty, but how is that fair to him? You don't know my sister like I do. Side do tell was a bit aggressive as well, but for the most part one thought I got some good advice. Someone said to imagine if it was me, and yeah, I'd want to know too. To get married someday and later find out everyone but you know your spouse cheated? That's not fair. I got the advice in the comments saying I should reach out to someone he knows and trusts like a friend with this information, so I added an update saying I will talk to his sister. The next day I get comments saying, why are you involving his sister? That's wrong. You can't win everybody over, woman shrugging. She is very protective of him, they are twins. I knew she would want to know. The last thing I want to address is that people think I'm obsessed with my sister. I don't know if anyone else has this update, but Instagram has this feature where on Reels you can click a button in the corner. It's like 3 icons of different accounts you follow, and then it will show you the post that person liked and highlight their comments. I'm not some FBI agent, I clicked a button, it's not that deep. I don't want to deep dive into our personal relationship, but I just don't like all the assumptions about us. Maybe I'll answer more comments or have something later, but this will probably be the final update. I appreciate the support, whether you agree with me or not. I value the perspective, unless you're the bus lady, because yikes. Stories number 40. Girlfriend lied and said she was not a cam girl. Hi all. I have been seeing this girl for about a year. Back when we started dating, a conversation came up where she told me she never did cam girl or ev, etc. I was randomly given information and it was true. Without a doubt. Hundreds of sessions online. I did more digging as I am curious to see what else there is. Fortunately only solo sessions, and I didn't see her perform anything else, with anyone else, lol. It seems she tried to wipe all evidence of it existing, but the internet is forever. I reported what I could find, so hopefully whatever is remaining will be removed. I feel betrayed from the lies. I plan on peacefully asking her why she lied. I want to know what advice anyone has before I begin this conversation. Never been in a situation like this, but I think it will be resolved by talking. Thanks. Stories number 41. Block the street. I'll just leave my car there. I went to visit my parents last week and saw their neighbor's old car parked there, which reminded me of the one and only interaction I had with him, about 21 years ago. The neighbor had, still has, I just saw it last week, a very old car in somewhat decent shape. I'm sure holds sentimental value for him, but it's not a fancy or rare model, just old, maybe late 70s or early 80s. At the time, my wife and I had just married and we were saving money by living in an apartment that belongs to my parents, right next to their house. Both my wife and I had each our own cars, and on that Saturday I needed to take mine to the shop for something simple, an oil change or similar, I don't remember exactly what. We planned to drop my car and then go have breakfast nearby, so I drove my car and my wife followed me in hers. As I was driving down the main avenue, I hit some traffic, so I turned onto a parallel, narrower, one-way street. That's when I came across this idiot, going the wrong way and blocking the entire road. In front of him was another car, facing the correct direction, unable to pass. The driver of that car honked and yelled, but the jerk refused to move. After a while, the frustrated driver gave up, backed out, cursed at him, and left. I pulled up in front of him and honked too, but of course, he didn't budge. Instead, he started tapping his fingers on the steering wheel, clearly showing that he had no intention of moving. Then I looked in my rearview mirror and saw my wife waiting behind me. That's when I got an idea. I shut down my engine, exited the car, locked it, and yelled to the guy something like, "Good luck," or "Fuck you," I don't remember. I hopped in my wife's car and told her to back up. She was confused at first but quickly caught on, put it in reverse, and we drove back to the main street, leaving him stuck there. The look on his face was priceless. We drove one block down, then looped around from the other end, technically also going the wrong way, to see what he was doing. Sure enough, he was struggling to maneuver his car around mine. The only way he could get out was by reversing and making a U-turn. As he was doing this, he spotted us parked nearby, watching and laughing. His jaw dropped. I threw in a snarky remark, got back into my car, and drove off, this time in the correct direction. A few weeks later, I was driving in the area, and I saw him with the flashers on and the hood up. I drove a pretty common car and slowed down as I got near to him. He approached me, and when I was very close, he finally recognized me. I gave him the finger and sped away. Last week, I saw he still has that same piece of junk parked outside his house. I can only hope it stranded him many more times over the years. Stories number 42. He said he respected women, until I held him accountable. I had a male friend, more friend of a friend, who prided himself on being a respectful, progressive man. He claimed to champion male accountability and insisted he valued open discussion. The moment I confronted his behavior with me, behavior that many women would find uncomfortable, and told him I was no longer interested in hanging out, his mask slipped. Instead of acknowledging, he provided a conditional apology. He reframed my words, made himself the victim, and subtly painted me as combative. He used politeness as a shield, positioning himself as reasonable while making my directness seem aggressive. When I didn't cater to his discomfort, he dismissed me as not a safe space for him to grow because it was evident to him that I wasn't interested in his growth. His language was carefully crafted to seem neutral while deflecting and gaslighting me into thinking I was the unreasonable one. To provide some context, here's the conversation that led to my confrontation with him. He aggressively questioned my views on relationships, challenging my answers as if they were wrong. When I said I was not interested in dating and that I had no desire to settle down, instead of respecting that, he insisted I didn't know myself well and he theorized that I actually deeply desired romance, *. He insisted that I make it too difficult for men to pursue me and liken me to an open doorstep with 400 steps instead of 4, suggesting that my standards and boundaries were unreasonable obstacles men shouldn't have to overcome. The standard being my disinterest in dating. He hypothesized, what if a guy said, please, to you though? You really wouldn't consider him if he was saying, please, cause he knew you guys were compatible. He asked why I was so resistant to someone asking me out and that I needed to realize that all men just want affection. He told me I should acknowledge how courageous it is for a man to ask a woman out. He tried to convince me that I should see romance from a man's perspective, not my own. When I said I don't like receiving gifts or romantic gestures, he pushed back. A man giving flowers isn't about your enjoyment, it's about his. Then he followed up with, what if a man just showed up at your doorstep with flowers? Also, what kind of flowers do you like? He subtly tailored his behavior to match what I said I appreciated in some men. When I mentioned in past how I did appreciate men who quietly notice small details and offer acts of service to everyone and not just women, suddenly, he started paying attention to my water glass and refilling it. It felt very performative. It felt like a calculated test to see if he could manipulate attraction rather than a genuine personality trait. He discredited my past attractions to reserved and highly observant men by suggesting I actually needed someone who, coincidentally, resembled him. He dismissed my preferences, saying that just because someone is reserved, it doesn't necessarily indicate maturity, and that I shouldn't discount other personality types. He then suggested I would be bored with the manservant type and that I actually needed someone intellectual and outgoing, who could challenge me, coincidentally, the exact way he sees himself. He kept questioning in such a targeted way. He asked why I was so averse to physical touch, then proceeded to give me scenarios of men caressing me or holding me to gauge how much physical touch I would allow. He asked if I found men's touch too sexual, then told me, unsolicited, about identifying as a demisexual and how he differed from all the male friends that used to collect notches in their bedpost during college. I had to physically get up and leave to stop the conversation because he wouldn't let me change the subject or exit conversationally. A couple days later, I sent a text to point out how pushy and inappropriate he was being, and he responded with a non-apology that suggested I was just inexperienced with outgoing men like him, and he reduced his behavior to simply being assertive, inquisitive, and highly motivated to get to know his friends. He suggested my inexperience is what led me to assume his romantic interest in me and that I was assigning sinister intent where there was none. He was highly offended that I categorized his behavior as something many women would find worrying and criticized me for generalizing and speaking on behalf of all women. In his apology, he verbatim texted me, "Where I went wrong was giving you the power to talk on behalf of all women. You can't speak on behalf of all women." When I told him I wouldn't minimize his problematic behavior to cater to his comfort, he told me my language was restrictive and dismissive. He accused me of grouping him with misogynists, toxic men, and predators, language I never used. It became clear that his respect for women only lasted as long as he wasn't the one being challenged. He insisted he just wanted to get to know me, but what he was actually doing was testing how much he could push my boundaries and trying to convince me that we were compatible. Not to mention, this all began under the premise of meeting to casually discuss a job he wanted to offer me. I know I made a lot of mistakes in this experience. I humored him for far too long and kept trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I let myself get to this point of frustration because I was reluctant to come off abrasive and combative and overreactive. I've learned my lesson. Women are constantly expected to make space for men's learning, soften their words so they don't seem hostile, and prioritize tone over truth. I'm so tired of it. Being gentle doesn't work. Being firm doesn't work. Being direct doesn't work. My patience with misguided, straight men has been utterly exhausted. Stories number 43. Aita for refusing to forgive my dad, 62M, and quitting tutoring after finding out about his will. So, I've, 26F, never had a good relationship with my dad. We're from an African country. I emigrated to Europe with my mom and sister when I was 5. He wasn't there when I was born, he was already in Europe, so I met him for the first time when I was 5. Bear in mind, he didn't even want to bring us here and always talked about how he regretted it. For context, growing up, my household was very volatile. My dad was strict, quick to anger, and he will often hit us over small things. He and my mom fought a lot, and when she was pregnant, he would threaten that the baby had to be a boy or there would be problems. He also hit her, and sometimes me and my sister. He always made it clear that he valued sons more than daughters, constantly saying that my sister and I would never go far in life. I always begged my mom to leave, but she never did. Now that we're older, things have been better, he hasn't hit us in years. He still fights with my mom sometimes, but it hasn't been physical. I thought that maybe, with time, things had calmed down enough for me to try and form some kind of acquaintance-level relationship with him. So I also decided to tutor for a society he's part of. But recently, one of his friends told my mom that my dad made a will, and in it, he left nothing to me or my sister. He only left a section of land for my brother. I was surprised by how much this hurt, as I thought I didn't care about him at all, but I guess I did, at least a little. After finding out, I decided to cut him off completely. We never really had a relationship, but this just confirmed that he hasn't changed. What's the point? I also don't want to tutor for his society anymore, since it would mean being around him. The sessions happen at the same time he's there, and I don't want that. Now my mom is begging me to still go and forgive him. Apparently, someone called her and said he's been crying at work, talking about how he feels lonely and regrets telling people about the will. He only told 2 people, but clearly, it got back to us. But I don't care, he never came to me to apologize. Also, if I don't go to the sessions, people will ask questions and they might find out what happened, which I wouldn't mind. At least they would realize the kind of person he is. So, Aita for cutting him off and refusing to go to the sessions. Stories number 44. Wibta if I tell my husband he can't leave the job he hates. My husband is a tradesman. He's always wanted his own business as he hates having a boss. He started doing freelance work over the years and felt like he could go out on his own someday. I'm a teacher, and at the end of 2021, my district asked me to head up an initiative that bumped my pay up, quarterly stipends, without a ton of extra work. Around the same time, his company of 8 years got bought over. We decided this would be a good time for him to go out on his own. My teaching job provides steady income, I hold our family's insurance, we have 3 kids, oldest is 9, and the stipends provided a little cushion. We also had about 40K in savings. Things started out great, but a year later most of the work in the area dried up. He took contracts out of state to keep working, but didn't make as much because of lodging and food. He suggested we buy a camper him to live in when he was away. I agreed. That came with a hefty monthly payment, but alleviated some of the cost. Then the out-of-state work became fewer and farther between. He was home more, making no money at all. My husband is a hustler and was constantly putting himself out there, but the cost of supplies went up, so he had to raise prices for his services. This made things worse. The cycle continued. As hard as it was to be home alone with 3 young kids when he traveled, it was worse when he was home. He was miserable. A potential contract would cheer him up and then fall through. We went through this for months. Midway through 2024 we were simply out of money. We were living off of credit cards. He took some seasonal work in the fall, and that's the only reason our home wasn't foreclosed on. He felt like a failure. Early December an old friend called him to ask him if he'd consider working with him. There's a corporate project and they desperately need people with my husband's skill set. $61 hour plus $1,500 sign-on bonus if he started within 10 days. We thought it was too good to be true, but 2 days after Christmas he had a contract in his email. He started right after the new year. His first check was like manna from heaven. It's taken 2 months to breathe again, even with my pay. He's gotten paid 4x, and his most recent check was the first time we had money left over after we paid bills. We took the kids to McDonald's to celebrate. The problem is he's miserable. It took a week for him to remember why he hates working for other people. I watch his light dim more every day. He is working OT weekly and I feel bad he has to spend so much time there. The other day, he fake casually mentioned that he heard from a company out of state. It's the opportunity I've been waiting for, he says. It just came a little late. I love this man, but I don't think I can support this again. We put 40K plus and about 15K in CC debt into it. He was gone for months at a time and it was hard here. And we still have a huge monthly payment for that camper we can't sell. Would it be cruel to tell him he can't quit? Stories number 45. My girlfriend, 24F, is making me, 26M, miserable with constant demands of marriage. How do we move forward? I have been with my girlfriend for 2.5 years. She's amazing in so many ways, and really loves me. I love her too, but she has been driving me insane with her obsession with marriage. For the past year, it's been a constant cycle of her aggressively demanding that I marry her. We can't just live our lives without her looping it back into the topic of conversation. I'm talking frequent tears, yelling, asking why she isn't good enough, etc. I've told her I'm not ready to be married, and need to feel like I can breathe in the relationship. But she won't let it rest. We'll go a few days without talking about it, but in that time I know something is building up. There is always a dramatic outburst on the horizon. I feel like I could get to the point of wanting to marry her if she'd stop doing this. And I do get close, but then it all happens again and I question if I want to do this for the rest of my life. I understand her need for commitment and I'm trying to get there. But her behavior around the topic is making this hard to do. If I do marry her, how do I know she won't act this way about something else? I'm not sure if I'm being unreasonable. Stories number 46. The internet has ruined dating. I feel so bad for my single friends because dating nowadays is a train wreck and I think the internet and social media are to blame. The norm was to meet people in person, get to know them, go on dates and decide if you wanted to see where things go. Meeting people on the internet was so taboo and seen as weird and unsafe. Fast forward to today, and it's actually weird if you try to talk to someone new in person. Now, you hop on a dating app, swipe left or right, and hope for a match while you sift through hundreds of people, complete strangers, looking for love. Call me a traditionalist but I hate it. So many aspects of it seem so wrong. You have people lying on their profiles to start. Sometimes they're not even single as they claim. They make themselves out to be more interesting than they actually are to make up for the personality they don't have. They're not always clear about their true intentions. Don't get me started on the photo editing. It's the new catfishing. On top of that, you have to worry if the person you formed a connection with has formed that connection with multiple people at the same time. I know that all of these can still be issues even when meeting people traditionally in person, but they seem to be exponentially worse with social media and online dating. One of the biggest issues I see is the illusion of options. People will pass up great partners because there's hundreds of other people on these apps and online that are single, so surely, there must be someone better, right? I also feel that there's an addictive nature to these apps. Imagine the validation and ego stroke you get when you have so many people that find you attractive, like your posts, send you messages, or match with you on a dating app. If you're feeling down in the dumps, why not make a dating profile and have a mountain of strangers tell you how attractive they think you are? Or post those thirst traps from that recent beach trip or that bathroom selfie you really liked and have your followers give you the validation you're seeking. That'll fix it. When anyone from anywhere can have so much access to your life through the internet, it's no wonder people think they can just find someone else when any minor inconvenience comes up in a relationship. Or better yet, when they're bored. Some people think they have nothing to lose because they can just move on to the next person in their DMs or the next match on Hinge. Give me a break. What's happened to us? Stories number 47. I hate my husband but I'm completely dependent on him. He is a good dad. He pays all the bills and I don't have to worry about finances. We live in a huge 5-bedroom home that he owns. He's very successful in his career and he's very handsome. I have a dead-end degree. I've had 2 kids with him, which reduces my market value significantly apparently. I'm a stay-at-home mom so I have no savings. I'm not in good shape nor am I particularly good looking. I'm perpetually in 500 pounds of debt, because that's where he likes to keep me. I'm just tired of being left to feel so inadequate. He complains that I'm dependent on him but that's exactly what he wanted. I'm 11 years younger and we met when I was 17. I've never had a career, savings, he taught me financial literacy and I paid off every single penny of debt I owed in 1 year, before I moved in with him. Then I bought myself things and realized I need things but I have no money so I'm in 500-pound debt which he could easily completely pay off but won't. I can't drive and live in the middle of nowhere so I'm constantly trapped at home. Started lessons but he never takes time off to watch the kids so I can't finish them. I have no family and moved to be with him so have no friends in me area that can watch my kids. He blames me for not being able to drive though. I'm depressed and exhausted. Can't leave because I have no support system and no money. Can't leave the kids with him because he won't be home to watch them and often has to travel for work. Can't take them with me into homelessness and poverty. Also I love him. I just wish he gave me the life he promised. He likes to call me things like benefit scrounger and tell me I wouldn't even have a degree if not for him. I graded 98% in many of my assignments for uni, paid for uni myself, saved everything I needed for uni myself. I've also never been on benefits. I've had no personal growth since moving in with him and having kids. Been outside on my own only enough times to count on my hands. I'm isolated. Tired. Have no hobbies. I've lost myself. And I hate seeing him grow from my sacrifices and not even have a kind word to say to me. He doesn't even have sex with me anymore. He hates my temper but how do I emotionally regulate myself for him when I do it all day for toddlers who need me to? But he acts like a toddler and not a fully grown man and expects me to be nice. Anything he gives me comes with the strings of I'm not grateful enough and without him is have nothing and he should have just not got me anything at all etc. I'm tired of living this way. I'm tired of him. Is this fair? Stories number 48. I caught my M36, GF, F28, of 3 years cheating but she wants to work it out. We dated for a year, before moving in together and have been living together for the past 2 years. Relationship was solid or so I thought, until the past 8 months when I wouldn't lend $dollar to bail out her dad who got popped for drugs for the second time. Since then she started resenting me for it and no matter what or how I tried to fix it, it didn't seem to work, and I came home last week to find her getting back shots from some man at her work. I didn't confront them, walked out and have been living with my sister since. She's been texting and calling when she realized I found out, saying it was a mistake and want to work things out. I kind of do, but my sister thinks I should cut it off. Is that premature? Edit. Thanks for the replies. I commented this to another user and figured to post it here. We're doing tomorrow. My sister convinced me to pick her up, drive her few hours away and leave her there while my sister and I go back to throw things out so I can move back in. I showed her some of the comments here and her response was random strangers had more sense than I did. Stories number 49. Aita for refusing to sign for my sister's loan after she tried to do it behind my back. So, I, F, 26, and my older sister, 29, inherited a house from our grandparents a few years ago. It's a 2-family house, and both of our names are on the deed, so we both technically own it. We've been living together ever since, though we've had our fair share of arguments about the place over the years. A few days ago, I found out that my sister has been trying to take out a loan against the house. She didn't tell me about it, so I only found out after seeing some paperwork with both our names on it. Naturally, I got pretty upset and confronted her about it. She tried to brush it off, saying she just needed the money for some stuff, but when I asked her more details, she couldn't give me a clear answer. I told her if she wants to take a loan out on the house, she needs to buy me out. I'm not comfortable with her using our shared house as collateral without me being involved in the decision. But she got mad and said, "You're being dramatic. I'll take care of the payments, you don't have to worry about anything. Just sign the papers, and you won't have to do anything." The thing is, I know her. She's been irresponsible with money in the past, missing credit card payments, struggling to pay rent, and even not paying bills on time. I just don't trust her to keep up with the loan payments, and if she misses them, we could lose the house. So, I told her, I'm not signing anything. If you miss the payments, we both could lose everything. I'm not willing to risk it. She got really defensive and told me I'm being selfish and not supportive. She said I should trust her, that she'd never let the house go. But honestly, I don't think I can trust her with something like this, especially since I know how bad things could get if she misses a couple of payments. Now she's mad at me and calling me unreasonable, saying I'm trying to sabotage her and that I'm just being difficult for no reason. So, Aita for refusing to sign for this loan and telling her she needs to buy me out instead. Stories number 50. Aita for refusing to uproot my life and move home to care for my grandmother. My grandparents played a huge role in raising my brother and I, as well as my aunt's 2 kids. Between her kids, me, and my brother, my grandparents' house was a revolving door of children being dropped off while our parents worked full-time. As the oldest, I was expected to take on the most responsibility and became my grandmother's helper. My grandparents were verbally and emotionally abusive with no boundaries. I spent significant time in their home, constantly being ordered around and reminded how much I owed them. They lived in the house directly behind my dad's, so there was no escaping it. If they needed something, they called. If they wanted something done, I was expected to do it. At 22, I was exhausted and moved away. I've lived away from home for 8 years now and recently, I have been hearing about my grandparents' declining health. I was told my grandmother has dementia and my grandfather has limited time, but when I speak with them, they seem lucid. I've attempted to clarify their condition with my dad and brother, but I've been met with vague, passive-aggressive answers. I was recently laid off and called my aunt, who has a strong professional network, to see if she knew of any job openings. Her reply was harsh. "I've got too much F***king stuff going on here to worry about you." I didn't ask her to worry about me, I asked if she knew anyone hiring. She then revealed the likely true reason she answered my call. My grandfather is in assisted living, and she, my brother, and cousins are juggling woke and caregiving shifts for my grandmother, who apparently can't be left alone in the home anymore. This was news to me. She praised my brother and her daughter, comparing me negatively to them as always, then demanded I move home and become my grandmother's full-time caregiver because I'm currently unemployed. She said I had to give some to get some. When I politely declined, she blamed my refusal on my mother not raising me right, despite my grandparents essentially raising us all. My mother left when I was 6, and my grandparents undermined both she and my dad completely. They controlled everything about my upbringing, so I was essentially raised by the same people who raised my aunt. Now, I feel like my aunt is trying the same manipulation with me. When I pointed out that I have no medical training and suggested they hire a nurse, she dismissed it, claiming that due to short staffing, hiring a nurse wasn't an option. I know exactly what will happen if I agree. I'll be trapped indefinitely, sacrificing my life while everyone else continues normally. It's a black hole I refuse to enter. So, Reddit, Aita for refusing to drop everything, move home, and become my grandmother's unpaid caregiver. Stories number 51. Apparently, I'm not functioning like most women, because a man reads something online. I can't be the only woman who has experienced this, but it honestly feels insulting when it happens. Some men read something online about women, whether it's about sex, periods, hormones, or literally anything related to our bodies, and suddenly, they think they know everything. Not just general knowledge, but how my own body is supposed to work. I've had guys tell me things like, women are always hornier on their period, or masturbation is bad for women, or this is how you orgasm better. And if I correct them, instead of just listening, I get a, but I read it somewhere response. Like okay. I live in this body, I think I know how it functions. A guy told me to stop complaining about period cramps because relief pads cure them. What makes it even worse is that when I tell them my experience is different, it almost feels like they're implying I'm abnormal or that my body isn't functioning the way most women's do. It's so invalidating when men talk at us instead of with us, as if we don't have authority over our own lived experiences. It's one thing to be informed, but it's another to act like secondhand knowledge trumps first-hand experience. Women aren't all the same. Just because you read something about some women doesn't mean it applies to every woman. Has anyone else dealt with this? What's the worst or funniest fact a man has tried to tell you about your own body? Stories number 52. My in-laws asked if I've eaten. So, we were at my in-laws' place as it was my 5mo daughter's christening. I don't get along with them so well, but we tolerate each other, now more than ever, especially after my daughter's arrival. Due to the christening, things were crazy as it is, and even though my little one is really sweet, it still takes a toll to look after her all by myself. Especially after turning 5M, she takes ages to feed, so it has become all the more difficult. My husband was busy with managing things, and as I don't talk much with my in-laws, everything was pretty quiet, until my MIL came up and asked whether I've eaten. But as I was busy with something, I told her, yes, the little one finally finished her bottle and has gone to sleep. She looked at me dead in the eye and asked again, a bit loudly, have you eaten? I know it's nothing special, something mundane, but I literally teared up. It was 11:30 a.m., I had last eaten around 8 p.m. the previous night. Food was the last thing on my mind. I had slept for maybe 3.5 hours at night, I was a mess, and the photographers were arriving soon. Before she could repeat her question yet again, I replied no, and we all sat down to a meal together. I won't say we are awesome now, but our relationship is sure better. Stories number 53. Is it okay to just get away? I'm 34, married, 3 sons, don't drink, don't smoke, don't game, have more or less left every hobby behind me. I work, spend time with my kids, take care of our little farm, eat and sleep. But my marriage is failing, literally on a knife's edge from being over. I'm forgetful. Always forgetting something that ends up triggering my wife. Head in the clouds, so to speak. The weight of improving to be enough to save our marriage feels like more than I even want to attempt. Metaphorically, I almost feel like setting a match to the whole thing and just. As I said to a friend of mine a few weeks ago, let the hermitage begin. I know that's not responsible, not the right thing to do for my boys or my wife. But I'm tired. My gut says to just take my canoe that hasn't touched water in years, drop it in the river and just be gone for a weekend. Maybe a week. No phone. No outside contact. Just time to decompress. And think. Not be constantly bombarded with problems. Just fish, paddle, listen, think, sleep, repeat it. It feels selfish. But man, I need a break. I'm drowning here. 2 years ago, my little brother was killed in a car accident. A year and a half ago we found mold in our home and insurance wouldn't cover it. So we sank our small business to afford the repairs. A little over a year ago, the nearly repaired house caught fire. Took 6 months till we were able to move back in. Lost my dog to a car. It's just one thing after another. My health has gone to shit from the constant living out of a suitcase and gas station or microwave meals. I've lost any drive to improve myself. I'm rambling now. I'm tired. Any advice would greatly be appreciated. Stories number 54. I'm going on a trip with my toddler. Husband will not be present. His ex-wife is furious I'm not bringing my SS. My toddler and I are going to Disney with my side of family. My husband is not coming. We leave in a few days and my husband's ex-wife flipped out that I'm not bringing stepson, even though he's going on vacation tomorrow, with her. A few things. Stepson is much older and we are going with my mom, sisters, and their toddlers. Stepson is in school, and has gone on several vacations this year with his mom, and again, is going on another this week. He'd be missing a full week if he came with me. He's been to Disney this year already and many times before. My daughter has never been. My husband isn't coming on the trip and my toddler is already a handful. I'd really like to be able to spend some good quality time with my mom and sisters. We'll be able to do this since all the little ones go to bed early. I explained this to the ex, and also was honest about wanting to spend time with my mother and sisters, and that it would be hard with 2 kids, and she didn't care. She admitted her son doesn't listen to or behave for me, but she still pushed back as so why I am in the wrong for not bringing him. Again, it would be me, solo parenting my toddler, and my much older stepson, without my husband present, for an entire week. I love my stepson very much, but he hasn't always been the kindest and does not behave at all when my husband isn't present. He doesn't listen to me at all and it's been a struggle for years. I didn't tell him about the trip because I didn't want it to be an issue. I understand this probably wasn't the best idea, but I didn't want to make a huge deal out of it because I knew that it would be a battle regardless of how justified I feel it is, but I didn't think I'd be chastised by my husband's ex-wife over it. While I would never in a million years exclude him from a family trip, this is only me, my daughter and my sisters and mother. Not only would the age difference create a strain because it would be all little kids and one big kid wanting to do different things, but it would ultimately mean I'd have no real downtime. I feel like I don't need to even explain myself, but husband's ex has made a huge deal over it, knowing that her son has had more vacations in 1 year than we have in the entirety of my daughter's life. Anyway, am I a huge jerk? Because my husband's ex is making me feel like a horrible person. Edit, she started by calling my husband and lashing out. He shut her down, and stood by my choice not to bring SS. When she didn't hear what she wanted to hear from him, she came for me. When I told her my reasoning, after stating I shouldn't have to, she still tried to convince me to take him and said he'd be good. Anyway I said no, went in one ear and out the other. My husband stands firm in that I should not be taking him. Promise he's got my back on this one. Stories number 55. To fool by trying to be cute and almost blinding my boyfriend. So, my boyfriend and I have this thing where we do random surprise kisses, just sneak up and steal a kiss when the other isn't expecting it. It's cute. It's our thing. Well, last night, I decided to be extra sneaky. He was sitting on the couch, totally focused on his phone, and I thought, perfect time to surprise him with an upside-down Spider-Man kiss. I climbed onto the back of the couch, leaned way down over his head, and just as I was about to plant the cutest, most romantic kiss ever, he sneezed, violently, right as my face was inches from his. His forehead rocketed up and SMAACK headbutt me directly in the nose. I saw stars. I yelped, lost my balance, and went full ragdoll mode off the back of the couch. Meanwhile, he's panicking, thinking he just knocked me out cold mid-sneeze. I'm on the floor, holding my nose, laughing and crying at the same time. He's apologizing and also dying of laughter once he realizes I'm not dead. Now, my nose is slightly bruised, and he won't stop calling me Kissassin, because apparently, I almost took myself out with my own sneak attack. TLDR, tried to surprise my boyfriend with a cute upside-down kiss. He sneezed and headbutt me into another dimension. Stories number 56. My company started taking over $800 out of my monthly pay for the insurance cost for my family when I have proof that they would cover 100% of insurance premiums. I was hired 2 months ago at a company and one of the biggest perks was that they would cover 100% of my insurance premiums. I double and triple checked with HR to be sure of this before signing because our budget is tight and we cannot afford to have anything more taken out of my paycheck. They confirmed on multiple occasions over email, we will cover 100% of the insurance cost. For the past 2 months they have covered 100% for me, my wife and kid. We also have a baby on the way. However, I just received an email from HR stating that they have been reviewing finances and found a gap in their policy, so actually can only cover my insurance premium and 0% of my 2 dependents. Because of this error, almost $850 will be deducted from my monthly salary. In about 5 months when my second child is born, this will raise to about $1,100 per month. We cannot afford this and I would have not taken this job had I known this. My wife and I are furious and I was wondering if I would be able to sue my company for this, if they don't eat the cost themselves after I speak my concerns to them. Any advice appreciated, thank you. Stories number 57. Aita if I don't provide the code my boss needs after they fired me. I got fired laid off 3 months ago. They made it look like a layoff because they wanted someone with more expertise than a senior manager, more like a director level, and there was nothing I could do. I knew that was a BS excuse as they hired a junior level who was trained to fill my position. My last 2 weeks my boss didn't even ask for anything, he avoided any communication and directed me to HR if I wanted communication. No exit or off-boarding was done as he considered himself overqualified to do an off-boarding with me. Fast forward 3 months after my last day, I receive a message from him trying to log into one of the systems, and because of the 2-step verification the second step comes to my phone. He tried like 2 days and then reached out to me like nothing and wanted me to provide the code. I ignored it completely, but now I am wondering if I should have given the code to him. Edit, I did say system, but it is not a system where you have a license, it's more like a website where I created an account to pay the states quarterly. Anyone from my company can create a new account if they provide EIN and some security questions. He is just trying to use my username and password. Stories number 58. I'm 40 and I'm lost in life. I'm 40 and I really don't know what I'm living for anymore. From the outside things look alright, but internally I'm meh. First, I'm always tired. Been worked up, labs, doctor visits, nothing out of the ordinary. I am in peri and believe I might have ADHD. I hear about HRT, but my body didn't do well with hormones when I was on birth control. I'm married. Husband is a good guy. But we've had challenges. Lack of sex on my part. I'm not fun like I used to be. This is absolutely true. We also disagree about money stuff and have never been able to figure it out. We almost divorced last year but then backtracked. When it became real, I sobbed my eyes out and couldn't eat for 2 weeks. I'm glad we stayed together, but we still have issues. I'm honestly shocked he's still with me. I have an okay career. Stable but not high paying. Have waffled back and forth with returning to school for years but unable to make a decision. I feel dumb and inadequate. I'm also tired of the grind of 40 hours a week, rush to get the kids to school, rush to get home for dinner, etc. I'd love to take a sabbatical from work, but then I'd probably also hate myself for doing so. I have kids whom I adore but feel like a just okay mom. I save for retirement but doubt I'll ever really retire. Probably just work till I drop dead. I don't even know what makes me happy anymore. I don't like to travel. I seem to be anxious about everything. My happy time seems to be sitting by myself scrolling my phone. My husband got concert tickets for a favorite musician, and when he told me I barely even reacted. I just didn't have it in me. He looked so disappointed. Does anyone feel the same or have any advice for someone who feels lost in their life? Stories number 59. Aita for not allowing my stepdaughter in my house without my wife present. Alright Reddit, long time listener, first time poster, but here we go. So I, 41M, have a stepdaughter, we'll go with Becky, 22F, who has had a rough go of trying to figure out adult life. I'm going to skip a lot of details because I'm trying to not bias the audience, but let's just say, Becky struggled to support herself due to quitting most of her jobs within the first few weeks and then taking months to get around to finding a new one. Skipping ahead to the relevant bit, Becky's currently living with us for a month and a half because her grandparents, who she has been living with, are traveling, and they don't trust her unsupervised in their house. I was reluctant to agree to it because she has problematic behaviors. Generally refuses to shower, gets in screaming matches with her mother. Let's go with Ashley, in front of our 2 young children. Becky has called Ashley AC*NT in front of our 4 and 5-year-old kids, asks us to leave a door unlocked so that she can come home late, and then doesn't come home so the door is just unlocked all night. Everyone in the situation agrees that giving her a key is a bad idea. As recently as November of last year, Becky got into a fight with her Ashley and bragged that every time she's been in an environment where she shares space with my Ashley's professional peers, she's told everyone who would listen that Ashley is a horribly abusive mother. Also, Ashley works in a profession where an abuse accusation could cost her her license and her career. At this same time, it was revealed that the stories Becky has been telling Ashley, Ashley's sister, Becky's aunt, and Ashley's mother, Becky's grandmother, about how physically and emotionally abusive Becky's sometimes boyfriend sometimes fiancé are also complete fabrications. So, now Becky is staying with us, and as a condition of her staying with us, I was adamant that if Ashley isn't home, then Becky isn't home. Both because I don't trust her in my house, and I don't trust her around me. I also work in a profession where an abuse accusation would be problematic, not that they ever aren't. We are now several weeks into the arrangement, and Becky and Becky's grandmother are complaining to Ashley that I am being unreasonable and that I need to relent, show some compassion, and just let Becky in when Ashley is out working late or spending time with friends. I respond with a "not going to happen," and also stop bullying my wife for what is my decision. Even if Ashley tells me to open the door, it's not going to happen. Becky can go kill time until Ashley gets home. So what say you Reddit, am I the asshole? Relevant information to make sure I'm not putting my thumb on the scale. Becky has been employed now for 2 full months, which is a record for her. She hasn't been outwardly rude to Ashley since moving in, and has been, not a negative influence on her younger siblings. She has pushed some boundaries on some of the agreed-upon rules, but more in the area of annoying and inconsiderate, cooking shrimp patties at 11:30 at night when everyone else in the house is in bed, than harmful or dangerous, which is an improvement. Stories number 60. I let a school bully get his ass kicked in my class today. I teach high school history, but I also teach elective film studies. Basically my class watches movies and writes reports. I sit in the back and play Candy Crush or watch YouTube. I have a freshman student named Drew. He's your typical freshman boy asshole. 2 months, he got into trouble for beating up a 6th grader and broke the kid's arm. He seemed proud of it. Well, surprise surprise, when second semester started last month, Drew and the older brother of the kid who he beat up are both in my class. The older brother, Jeremy, is a senior. There was no interaction between them, but they were aware of each other. Today we were watching Jurassic Park and I think Drew said something to Jeremy about his brother. Jeremy said something back and Drew said, "Make me." I thought about telling them to sit down but didn't. Jeremy started wailing on Drew for a good couple of minutes. I told them to knock it off. Drew kept his head down the whole class. His head looked like a pumpkin and you could tell he was going to have a black eye and busted lip. I give Drew props because he didn't snitch. He did get sent to the nurse and sent home though. I hoped he learned his lesson. That's got to be embarrassing to get your ass kicked in front of your friends like that. Stories number 61. I don't want to go to my niece's wedding. No reason other than I don't feel like it. As I've come into my senior years, mid-60s, I've decided I'm only going to do things I actually want to do with the rest of the years I have left on this earth. Boy, is it a freeing feeling. I've never been a big fan of weddings and I don't feel like flying to a location I consider boring, rural Midwest farm town. I'm going to spend my travel dollars on places I want to go visit. I know my sister is going to be furious, but I'm okay with the consequences. I know that a wedding invitation is an invitation, not a summons. Of course I will send a very generous gift. And I know my niece won't care as we do not have a relationship independent of her mother. This way the bride be able to free up 2 spots for friends who are close to her. She was already balking at her mother's additions to the guest list as the wedding is only 70 people. Thoughts on how to break this to my sister. Stories number 62. Aita for telling my wife I'd have never asked her out if I knew she was a sugar baby. I've been with my wife for 5 years, married a little over 1 year. I was some cleaning and something I never noticed before was my wife's old jewelry. I know she had it, but I never noticed just how expensive looking it was. I asked my wife out of curiosity, where did she get these and how much they were. She told me they were from an ex and Ray cost an ASSLOAD. She told me before she only had one ex, back in high school and a bit of college. I asked her how the hell did a high school kid afford these. She looked confused, and I reminded her that she told me about her one ex. There was an awkward silence and I told her what was up with her. Did she have another ex? And if so, why did she tell me she only had one? She tried to play it off, but I pressed her for it, and she confessed she had several sugar daddies for about 3 years. I was mad but kept calm. I asked why she never told me she was a prostitute. She tried to give me a spiel about how it's more like a relationship, but with gifts and shit, and I told her to cut the crap. She told me she was afraid I was gonna judge her. I told her I was seriously mad, and she shouldn't have kept this from me. She says, does it matter? And I told her if it matters. She asked me why, and I told her I'd have never asked her out in the first place if I knew. And that she straight up lied to me when she told me she only had one ex. She told me she did only have the one ex, and that just pissed me off more and told her, didn't you just say the sugar crap was more like a relationship? She did cry, and said sorry, and she'd do anything to make it up to me. I told her I need some space. I'm pissed. I do love my wife, but I feel robbed of my decision. I do mean what I said. I'd have never asked her out if I knew back then. Update, Aita for telling my wife I'd have never asked out if I knew she was a sugar baby, so I'm staying with my wife. I still don't like that she hid this from me. But I'm staying with her. But I stand by 2 things I said. She was a prostitute. Some of you kept saying, sugar babies don't always have sex with their clients and like whatever. By my wife's own admission. She did sleep with her clients, so yeah, prostitute. I'm not gonna pretend she wasn't. Some of y'all are actually delusional though. Just because she wasn't out in a street corner doesn't mean she wasn't a prostitute. She fucked for money. I do know I'd have broken up with her if I knew earlier. That's the truth. If I were single again, I wouldn't date someone who was a prostitute. Do I think prostitutes don't deserve to get married? Nope. But that ain't for me. Anyway, things have gone back to normal for us. She's actually sold the jewelry her clients got for her. Not at my request, she did this on her own. There hasn't been any major drama between us since. We had an open heart-to-heart. I did tell her that what I said was true. I wouldn't have asked her out if I knew, and I told her maybe it was a good thing she didn't tell me, since we do have a wonderful life together. But that doesn't mean her being dishonest was a good thing. She and I decided to put this behind us, but I did tell her that if she has any more secrets like that, she needs to tell me right now, and if I ever found out something about her like this, we're done. I also wanted to address one little thing. Some of you all were like, no wonder she didn't tell you. She knew you were an insecure asshole. Or something like that. So are you all willing to marry assholes? Seriously, I don't comprehend this logic. It's not like I forced my wife to marry me. If she knew I was an insecure asshole, why exactly did she decide to marry an insecure asshole? What? Would you marry an asshole as long as you lied to them to make sure they never find out about your past?